Please go ahead, sir. We are live now.
Thank you. So very good morning, Dr. Razimithai, Director, ARI, Ministry of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprise, Government of India. Dr. H.M. Naqvi from NHI, he will join very shortly. Mr. Rohan Verma, CEO and Executive Director of MapMy India. Mr. Ashish Chutani, Head Government Affairs and Public Policy Affairs from Maruti Suzuki Limited. Mr. Ravi Minchandani, Chairman, Aero Power Limited. And Mr. Kranti Sambhav, Editor and Lead, Times Drive, Times Network Digital. So, and all our participants, on behalf of ASSOCHAM, it is an absolute honor and proud privilege in extending very warm welcome to esteemed ASSOCHAM members, renowned guests, and august gathering who have joined us today and sparing your valuable time with us. So thanks again for joining to us, all esteemed speakers and our guests. So as we know, today we are here to discuss on a very important subject of road safety, which is thoroughly touches and impacts everyone's life in one way or other aspect. We are on road each and every day. So as we know, India ranks first in road accident deaths across the globe and accounts for almost 11% of the accident-related deaths in the world. Almost 70% of the accident involve young Indians. During 2019, as per the government reports, young adults in the age group of 18 to 45 years accounted for nearly 69.3% of road accident victims. Again, is a total number of 4.49 lakhs accident took place in the country during the calendar year 2019, which leading to 1.5 lakh deaths and 4.5 lakh injuries. In percentage terms, the number of accidents decreased by 3.86% in 2019 over that of the previous year, while the accident deaths decreased by 0.20% and the persons injured decreased by 3.86%. So it's very good sign. The decline in road accidents, killings and injury reported during the calendar year 2019 appear to have been a result of the Motor Vehicle Act implemented in states with effective from 1st September 2019, which also focused on road safety. So because I'm not experts and the guest with us, so now I will not take much more time and request to our session moderator Mr. Kranti Sambhav, who has more than 50-year experience in the road safety and he's also auto expert in India as a renowned personality. So I request to Kranti Sambhav ji to continue with today's discussion. Over to Kranti Sambhav ji, please. Please unmute yourself, Kranti ji.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I just didn't see. Good morning, everyone, and thanks a lot for joining. And I hope we have we have all we and our family members are all safe and healthy. This is very unique kind of experience for the event which we are used to now, because most of us are. I mean, as you can see, I'm also working from home, so most of us are trying, a new kind of balance between work from home and from office. But we are also coming out of a phase which was very unique to road safety data as far as India is concerned. As Sandeep ji mentioned, we just own 1% of the total number of cars in the world, and 11% of accidents are in India. And as far as numbers are concerned, I mean, if we look at last time also when we had this this event in physical presence when we were all together, at that time also we were discussing how the numbers have not gone down, but at the same time when we look at these numbers, they shock all the road users so much. The way it should. I mean, 1.5 lakh Indians getting killed on Indian roads every year is something which is tragic. And as Minister of Road Transport himself said, this is more fatal than the COVID. Because if you just look at the numbers, very tragic number as far as COVID deaths are concerned. But 1.6 lakh Indians died due to COVID-19. Whatever figures we had. But if you look at road accidents, every year we lose almost 1.5 lakh Indians on the roads. And one shocking thing, Sandeepji and all the panelists, all the guests, you would, I don't know if you know, recently I did do, road safety campaign, and I was traveling around Punjab and I was looking at different states' data. As an auto journalist, as a road safety kind of warrior, I was expecting that the numbers would go down while the lockdown was in place, but shockingly, almost 1/5 of the numbers which we generally see, almost 29,415 deaths were recorded as per the record we have during the lockdown between March and June. That was shocking. This is kind of tells you the situation we are in. We are a growing country. Most of us are buying new cars and vehicles, and this is the challenge we still have. And we have a panel of experts who would share more thoughts and ideas about this pandemic, what we have called road accidents. So to start with, I would like to go to Mr. Ravin Mirchandani, who's Chairman Edo Powertron Limited. Mr. Mirchandani, I would like to understand, because if you look at Indian scenario, this is pretty new. I mean, we are a developing country, but at the same time, we are also seeing, the kind of numbers globally which are going down. We are still struggling in a way. If we compare Indian scenario to the world or global scenario, how do you see that? Because you have been, you have this exposure, global exposure. So I just wanted to understand your thoughts. Mr. Mirchandani?
Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
When you're on, we're still struggling with IT. So thank you for that question. You're absolutely right. Corona killed as many people in 1 year as road accidents have been in India for the last 10 years. And that number, 150,000, is the Indian government reported number. The WHO estimates it to be 2.5 to 3 times that number. So technically, there should be 450,000 fatalities. What is the difference in that number? If you do not die on the highway in an accident, but die in the hospital, then it's not recorded as a road accident fatality. So it is quite conceptual that our fatalities are significantly higher, but we do not have a government focus on it to lock down the country, for example, until people learn to drive, or we change the road rule regulations with the same sort of focus that we have on Corona. The problem in India is manifold, and it has to be looked at as an ecosystem. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be giving a presentation later, but we had many photographs of road use behavior from our technology that shows how people do drive. And what you see in India is slightly different from around the world, and that is that 90% of India tends to stick to road rules, which is quite difficult to believe when you drive on the road, but 90% of India will drive on or about the speed limit, stay in their lane, and be defensive in driving. There is a 10% of India that drives at extreme speeds and a 3% of India that drives at incredibly dangerous behavior. And this is speeds of 200 kilometers or above, speeds at 180 in the rain, truck drivers driving at 120 kilometers, bus drivers using their mobile phones while entering tunnels with 60 lives that they're supposed to take care of, which is incredibly irresponsible behavior. And the problem we have is that irresponsible behavior is not recognized, not by technology and not by regulation. Our speed enforcement and driver behavior regulations are not enforced in a diligent manner because there are no regulations to do so. They're enforced sporadically. So people who do face enforcement tend to look at them as unfair because 20 cars have gone by at high speed, but you've caught me. I was driving at this speed yesterday, but you've caught me today. So there is no consistency in the way we are enforcing road regulations. We do not recognize that a limited access corridor, such as the Delhi-Mathura Expressway, is a different road from a highway and needs its own sets of regulations, and therefore enforce these own sets of regulations. So we have driver behavior that's different from the rest of the world, but is not going to be that difficult to fix if we have government focus on it. And I leave you with just one thought. If you look at the country that has managed Vision Zero, which is no fatalities and can track down to 6 fatalities a year, is in Australia, the state of Victoria. Every state of Australia has not only a roads minister, but an additional minister for roads safety, whose job is one thing alone, and that is to reduce the road fatalities year on year. That is the sort of focus we're going to need if we want to reduce this number. Otherwise, it'll just be advertising by people talking about corona deaths versus road fatalities. And so for me, the answer to your question is we need a whole of ecosystem approach, from road engineering to regulations to policy to enforcement to police, down to industry, in order to attack this problem.
Definitely, and even if we look at this problem, most of the, one mentality which we see in India, whether they're pedestrians or drivers, this will not happen with, happen to me or something of that sort. And that is something which is kind of not only fatal, but if you put this number forward, almost 3.14% of your GDP is impacted because of road accidents. This is what the World Bank data says. I mean, so if that much of money is spent just on road accidents, just imagine that is affecting you anyway, even if you're not meeting with an accident. So one question, I mean, we're talking about different holistic approach. You mentioned holistic approach. One the big issue is the safety of cars, not only for passengers but pedestrians as well. We had Dr. Reggie Mathai, who's director ARAI. These days we are hearing a lot of news about ARAI and kind of new safety norms we are looking at. And very soon we are going to see dual airbags mandatory in cars as well. So, sir, what are your thoughts as far as making cars safer for passengers as well as the road users?
Yeah, this is one of the major aspects. The vehicular safety means as such, and then it comes to the pedestrian, and parallelly along with the other ecosystem that needs to be developed. So more or less, the vehicular safety, we are in line. Majority of the written norms, we are in line with that. Which we can say about almost like 75% of the UN regulations we are. Still, few more of them we are in discussion with. For that, the ecosystem needs to develop, like the lane departure warning system is there. The advanced emergency braking system is there. So these things needs a little more evolution of our own systems in place, and as and when it comes in, this will be put into effect. But what has been done over the years is the passive safety standards for the vehicles have been enforced, and this has made the vehicle much. So as you look into the accidental statistics and all those things, a lot of people, if they follow the norms, like if they put the seat belts and if they have a collision also, there are protection coming in. And as you mentioned, even the co-passengers airbag is going to be mandatory from April onwards. And testing aspect of that is whatever test facilities are needed to evaluate it in place in the country now. So that has been one demand, means one requirement, which the test agencies like ARI and ICAT has put into place. We have regulations which we only see in India. That happens because like a rod protruding from a vehicle, if an accident takes place, such tests which are not in the foreign countries, they don't face such things. And we go beyond what is required also in other aspects. So as per the regulatory norms are concerned, as I mentioned, the vehicles become much safer. There are certain other advanced areas also being looked into, as mentioning. In the coming days, this will be put in place, and when we have a better ecosystem and as the industry gets ready for it. And I think the vehicular aspects are there. As the need is for the passerby, the people who are not on cars and all, there is a need for a better ecosystem to develop and be put into place.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mathai. This talk about safer cars, and now we are seeing even the motorcycles they're coming with ABS, and most of the cars are fitted with all the equipments, and now we are kind of coming at par with the global standard as far as safety is concerned. We have Mr. Ashish Chutani, who is from Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Sir, I would you have a presentation, I believe, and also I just want to understand the kind of the mindset change most of the companies are seeing these days, because I mean, I can talk about my viewers and my subscribers, the kind of queries we get. I have been doing these stories on crash tests from Global Ncap and different things. So visually they are very shocking. Viewers are talking about that. Now they have started putting that in their decision making process as well. So how do you see this change going, and when you see all the cars, all the manufacturers will start putting safety as their first marketing tool?
Thank you, Krantiji. And I'm loading my presentation because I want to give a complete perspective on the road safety, and I'll answer your question also. But in the meanwhile, while I'm loading my presentation, we all are seeing a significant change in terms of people getting more and more aware about safer cars, safer vehicles, and it is getting there. I mean they are it's becoming an important critical parameter. Previously, we all know it was all about value for money, fuel efficiency, design, but this road safety aspect is also getting there, and I mean there has been a significant change in terms of customer buying pattern also because of the safer cars. So if you allow, I can make a small presentation, probably a 8 to 9 minutes presentation, and that is what I was told. And accordingly, I'll give a complete perspective in terms of what do we as Maruti are doing in this area.
Sure.
Yeah? Okay, thank you. So is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so senior panelists in the webinar, colleagues from the industry, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. And thank you, ASSOCHAM, for giving us this opportunity to talk about very critical aspect of road safety, especially in the context of India, where we, the road users, as was what Mr. Raveen also mentioned, and Kranti, you also mentioned, have almost zero appreciation for road safety. And let me share some examples, the common road behaviors we observe every day. The picture on the top left side is about Mr. and Mrs. Khiladi, who think not wearing helmet is cool. The second picture talks about Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, who thinks they can defy the laws of physics and nothing will happen to them. The third is, of course, the Karobar that we observed, I mean, even during the lockdown. And that's why, I mean, Krantiji, as what you mentioned, it's not a surprise that even in the lockdown, the cases have not come down. Unfortunately, the fourth picture is not a road, but a footpath. I mean, this one is an interesting one. Two-wheeler owner on a mobile, blocking an ambulance, multitaskers, wrong way. And the last one is very important. And what Mr. Mithai was also mentioning, we were tasked with, recently we were tasked with bringing out seatbelt reminder for both passenger as well as co-passenger in record time. So we brainstormed, engineered, developed, invested. While we were doing all of this, there was jugaad available in the market to defy the seatbelt reminders. So, आपके जान की कीमत 499 रुपए. Yeah. So, and this is why it's not a surprise that we are world's largest in terms of road fatalities. Every year there are 53 accidents, 17 deaths, and of course, as Mr. Mirchandani also mentioned, this is what is reported. It's not a surprise that while I'm talking for we are talking for last 5 to 6 minutes, there have been 4 accidents and 1 death somewhere on the Indian road, and it's not a surprise that majority of it, 70% of it, are young people, probably the only bread owners for the families. So where is the problem? I mean, we sincerely believe the problem is in our basics of driving system, licensing systems. We're not able to enforce. I mean, and to give an examples, even after 40, 50 years of motorized India, we still do not have a mandatory enforceable driving training regime available here in India. Yeah. But yes, I mean, all corporates are trying to do a bit. I mean, Maruti Suzuki, we're also trying to contribute in this area. We have two models of driving training. One is Maruti Suzuki driving schools, which are operated by our dealer partners. We have nearly 500 of them. And the best part is we are training 2 lakh drivers every year. And we're proud to say that 50% of them are women drivers. The second model is the IDTRs, which we are running in participation with the state governments. And we're not only training car owners, but 2-wheeler drivers, 3-wheeler drivers, buses, trucks, forklift drivers, everyone. What we are also doing is we're trying to inbuild technology. I mean, recently we have tied up with Microsoft to develop harnessing automobile for safety. This is an AI tool which we are trying to build in. And this tool is not only able to detect the how is driving performing in terms of several parameters under CMVR, but also what is his response while driving. So basis that feedback, his driving training can further be strengthened. So we're trying to bring in more and more tools and technology in our driving training regime. And we have, I mean, I'm happy to share that over the last few years that we have been into driving training, we have trained more than 50 lakh drivers here in India. But much more needs to be done. The second critical aspect is about the licensing system. I mean, we all know there are several pockets in India where अगर आपको license चाहिए, आपको driving आती है नहीं आती, आप driving center गए हैं कि नहीं गए, आपको license center गए हैं कि नहीं गए, you need a license, आपको मिल जाएगा. ये सिचुएशन इतनी गंभीर है कि देश के सर्वोच्च यूनियन मिनिस्टर को आके कहना पड़ा कि साहब 30% लाइसेंस बोगस है. When we are also trying to contribute a bit in this, we have tied up with the Delhi government and fully automizing the driving test centers here in Delhi. These centers have state-of-the-art driving test tracks, fully automated, completely loaded with cameras and radar system. So these can test the driver on 20 different parameters as per CMVR. Once you enter the driving test track here and you complete the test, at the end of the test, the computer will decide whether you have a valid, you know how to drive, and you have you will get a license or not. So no manual intervention, perfect, fully automized. The third aspect is enforce. I mean, okay, and interesting numbers. Basis when we have initiated this automized driving centers here in Delhi, what we observed is nearly 90% of the license people who are applying for licenses, 90% of them were getting the license. And today, nearly only 50% are passing basis these automized test centers. But it also means that previously, 40% of the people in Delhi were getting licenses who never deserved license in the first place. That's a state of art. I mean, that's only Delhi. I mean, I understand the situation will be very similar or rather worse in many other parts of the country. The next very critical element, as what Mr. Mithai also mentioned, is enforcement. We can make all rules, we can load cars as much as possible, but if it is not properly enforced, nothing is going to change. And we are also trying to contribute a bit in this area. We have partnered with Delhi Police in setting up high definition cameras, radar systems across the key junctions across Delhi. Fully automized, they're able to capture overspeeding, wrong side, zebra crossing. When all such violations are being captured, it goes to a centralized server, and from a centralized server, challans are issued. Zero manual intervention, again a technology-based enforcement. I'm not sure it's a good sign or a bad sign that in the last 1.5 years that we are operating this camera project, more than 30 lakh challans have been issued. Now, please remember, this is only one stretch. a big stretch of ring road. If we are able to replicate the same across Delhi, probably multiple crores. If we're able to replicate across India, probably significant crores. So that also talks about the state of enforcement we are in, and the kind of improvement we need to do it from here. The next key aspect is emergency response. I was reading yesterday that almost 80 to 90% of the fatalities can be avoided if there is a proper emergency response in the first hour of an accident. We have started a small initiative along with MORTH and IRF. We have developed a video called Rehana, which just talks about emergency response and how you should be able to give an emergency response. This we believe should be televised within cinemas, social media, and others, and may be able to make a bit of impact. Also, what we are doing is we are contributing by donating ambulances, by giving highway patrol vehicles, and we're trying to contribute whatever bit possible in the area of emergency response. Last but not the least, we believe, to answer your question, we sincerely believe we, the OEMs, have a significant role to play in terms of road safety. I'm happy to share that, rather proud to share that, India being despite at 1/10 of income of Europe, we are almost nearly at par with Europe in terms of safety regulations, the crash regulations. And not only this, there has been many new regulations that have been introduced in the recent 1 or 2 years, which are not even available in Europe. Yeah? So there is a silent revolution, as you've asked, is happening across the automobile sector, across the car sector, and we're all geared up for it, and we're all happy to support. Yes, I would also like to mention again a basic point that yes, we can load as much possible a car, but a heavy loaded car not always necessarily means a safer car. This is a recent study by the study by WHO, which says that airbags have saved many lives, but there have been deaths attributed to airbags if the seatbelt is not properly strained. And we know the state of enforcement in terms of seatbelt. Even after 30 years of regulation of seatbelt, आज भी देश की 81% महिलाएं seatbelt नहीं पहनती हैं, and 68% of the men do not wear a seatbelt, which means 75% of the Indians do not wear a seatbelt still in the car. So if that is the situation, we can load as much as possible. Rather, it will be more lethal than not having an airbag. We know it's a very grim situation, and I know that is why we started a campaign called Pehni Kya. We did many BTL, ATL activities, nationwide campaigns, radio, media, social media, everything. And what we have observed is in the areas where we have done Pehni Kya campaign, there was an 8% increase in terms of enforcement. While the 8% looks very small, but if you look at it in terms of numbers, this 8% would mean 1,954 lives saved. So just to summarize, the problem is with our basics. Small steps can make a significant impact. In terms of if we are able to enforce the regulations, it can create and there can be a technology-based enforcement. There can be a significant benefits that we will all see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashish. I would like to add a few pointers. You mentioned golden hour. How we can save almost maybe more than 52 or 54% was the data, I guess, where we could save those many lives if we managed to get all the road accident victims to the hospital well in time. And I would love to share this story from Punjab. Bathinda, I did this story from Bathinda, where NGOs have this kind of race amongst themselves who would reach the accident site before anyone else. And that was A, surprising, and B, it was very encouraging, because all of them were NGOs. They were not like everyone was not depending upon the government ki koi aur aage karega. But there's the other point which I would like to talk about. When you said automated driving license, I was actually scared to go and get myself or whatever, give that test. Who knows, I would fail after this new automated test. But anyway, we have Mr. Rohan Verma. Rohan, who's CEO of MAPA India. Thank you so much, Mr. Verma. Just wanted to understand one aspect which Ashish also mentioned. We see so many people on roads, and this is like common Indian mentality. कि ये मेरे को मुझे driving आती है, दूसरे को नहीं आती. And one of the more common scenes, I mean personally, in front of any folks or next to a flyover, people are standing next to it कि किधर जाए. And your product works and helps them in that sense. How do you see telematics come in and internet and connectivity helping the cause of road safety?
Okay, thanks very much. I have a few slides to show which will help give a visual perspective to how this whole road safety can be looked at. So if I can get the chance to share my screen, I'll show you very quickly these.
Just checking.
Just give me 1 second. I think I got the. Yeah. Okay. You can see my screen, right?
Right.
Okay. So, this is a topic close to our heart. How do you minimize road accidents and ensure treatment of victims within golden hour? Because usi se pura the whole road safety can be addressed. Now, what people know about MAP India and the products that we put in the field versus all that we do, I think are two separate things. And so I wanted to tell you that, there can be an end-to-end way to identify and map the Indian road and medical infrastructure where dark stretches of the roads can be identified using analytics, where golden hour serviceability is not feasible. And then drivers can be alerted in advance about dark spots, accident-prone areas in a safety navigation app. And ये सब चीज हम कर रहे हैं. You can live monitor using telematics to analyze the driving behavior on various road segments, and you can identify poor road design and condition. And then you can automatically detect accidents and precisely report location through onboard GPS navigation and dispatch the right responders in time. So this is the whole story about how people can plan, identify, track, and navigate, and ensure this golden hour workflow. So just to give you some statistics that what is the dark stretch of roads where golden hour serviceability is not possible in different parts of India. You're seeing these green being where it is possible and black where it is not, and the red spots where it is actually a hospital and trauma center. So you start getting a sense that India ki 1.7 lakh national highways mein, there are 24,000 stretches of road kilometers where golden hour serviceability is not possible only, where basically a victim likely will have a death upon having an accident. Like that for every state, every district it can be done, and an index can be created about how many hospitals are there along the road. So such kind of information can really help people understand. There's so many more things, but I'll leave it for now so that people get this idea of analytics, data-driven decision-making, then navigation and telematics, how it can help in the safety alerting for the people. So thanks a lot. Lot of AI and high-definition maps around recognizing and analyzing things on the roads, but I'll stop for now.
Yeah, perfect, Mr. Verma. This is like very helpful, I'm sure, for any department who's working on, because I've been following this from really long time, and every time we hear about black spots, road engineering changing, making them safer. And when we started talking about it, at that time the data was not so accurate. Right now, this data, when you see in front of you, then you have very clear understanding कि मामला अटक कहाँ पर रहा है. But now coming back from data to some mentality, would request Mr. Mishandani to share his thoughts, because I believe he has some detailed study on the kind of driving mentality we Indians have, how distracted we are. I also feel that most of the Indian drivers are, just for as a satire, I would say they are like superman, superhuman beings. एक हाथ में coffee, एक हाथ में चाय, एक में maybe cigarette, और पता नहीं steering कौन संभाल रहा होता है. But that's the reality which we keep seeing. And then if they block your path, तब वो आपके ऊपर गुस्सा भी होते हैं that you are basically disturbing their phone calls or whatever. But anyway, Mr. Mirchandani, you have some interesting data. Please, if you could share. You're on mute.
If you allow me to share, I'll be able to just put up a couple of slides that will show you exactly what you were referring to, Kranti. I think you'll have to allow me to share, though.
I guess it's done.
Yep. You need to fix, and we'll get there. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, great. So we designed a speed enforcement system that's specifically made for India, and I'm going to show you what the speed enforcement system is found in many locations. But these are boxes that can be installed in 4 hours that do not need optical fiber cable, that can use a GSM network and start working within a day. And work in corridors that can do 70,000 vehicles a day, for example. So I'm going to give you data from high-speed roads in India that our systems are tracking. For example, the Eastern Peripheral in Delhi, the Hyderabad ORR, the Bombay-Pune Expressway, the Chennai East Coast Road to Mabalipuram, and also the Hyderabad Airport Road. You'll see that when you use a dedicated system that's designed for India, the problems with enforcement regulation and the problems with enforcement technicalities tend to be overcome quite easily, because a 9-megapixel camera here is able to recognize all sorts of number plates without any problem. But I'm here to talk to you about the behavior, and I'm going to run you through some photographs before I take you through statistics. This is the sort of imagery that you typically get on a high-speed road in India. Vehicles doing 132 in the day, or a vehicle doing 128 kilometers at night. But this is actually a very good quality photograph because they're safely in the middle of the lane and all ensconced with seatbelts. But on occasion, as I was saying, the top 10% of India drives at extreme speed. This is at 191 kilometers an hour with the number plate deliberately obscured for a system not to be able to read. At 177 kilometers an hour, which is doing a little bit of racing, 204 kilometers an hour in Hyderabad. And then the fast speeds that we got in India were on the Delhi Eastern Peripheral, which is 249 kilometers with 2 motorcycles racing with their number plates deliberately removed, knowing that the enforcement system would pick it up. I want to show you a few more. The problem in India is not speeding only, it's also distraction, and we are not sensitive to distraction just yet. This is a car at 123 with somebody that is texting, but that goes on to a car at 137 with a driver obviously not texting but watching a movie, right, at 9:15 in the evening, because you can see from the landscape position of the phone that there is an interesting amount of distraction going on the phone. You also have, as has been alluded to before, the karo bar and parties in the car. In this instance, you not only have a party, but you have high speed at 126, no seatbelts in the front, and the driver being distracted with a mobile phone. And now this is criminal behavior because you're actually starting to be dangerous to others on the road, not just to yourself. Some more examples of distraction at high speed. Also, truck drivers here, fast lane, 81 kilometers an hour, mobile phone, number plate that's not legible, all sorts of things going on in this photograph. In Hyderabad, party with alcohol inside the vehicle. In the Eastern Peripheral, party with alcohol inside the vehicle. And then you have all sorts of other problems in India where the police will not want to enforce because you might have politicians who are in the car or government cars doing some silly things. I want to show you a few more behaviors that we are seeing now, particularly where enforcement systems are. We have people starting to test enforcement systems and starting to do very silly things with enforcement systems. So here's a car in the lane at 168 kilometers an hour. And in Hyderabad, we're beginning to see this more and more. People doing very silly things at this is at 107 kilometers an hour. But coming back to test it at 92 kilometers an hour, and then again at 142 kilometers an hour, making obscene gestures. So you do get, unless you have steady enforcement by police, you will start to get this sort of behavior from the population. We have cameras that do only distraction, that look at inside the cabin for only distractions. And here you can see a bus driver at 75 kilometers an hour with 65 souls on the bus entering a tunnel with a mobile phone distracted. That happens very often on expressways in India. And here even a police officer in a car with both hands off the steering wheel at a high speed. So what are the similarities that you have? I'll give you the similarities between the Bombay-Pune Expressway, the Hyderabad ORR, and the Eastern Peripheral. And as I was saying, you will see that most people stay at the speed limit. 91% of people were driving at 100 kilometers an hour, only 9% were driving above, and 1% on all of these roads are driving above 120 kilometers an hour. Again, number plate compliance across India is between 60 to 70%, which means that enforcement will start to improve. And when you see what are the commonalities between these roads, you'll see that women tend to be very, very small offenders. Only 1% of women are high speeders. Mobile phone use is 2 to 3%, which is the global average. But when you have 70,000 movements a day, that is a very high incidence of distraction. Speeding increases over the weekends, and 75% of speeding happens in the day, not so much at night. Less than 1% of vehicles are doing very silly things, but those people can kill at least 20 people if they are involved in an accident just because of the sheer behavior that they're indulging in. And trucks tend to use the right lane on high-speed corridors because they are demonstrating the same behavior that they would employ on a low-speed corridor, where the left lane is the dangerous lane because you can have things parked, or you can have a very big drop between the road surface and the shoulder, in which case the truck can go turtle, which is why they hang out on the right side, where you have other crashes because you got rear end crashes into the trucks. And on average, 12% of drivers and 24% of front seat passengers do not wear seatbelts. This is across India. This is not just on the Delhi Eastern Peripheral. As I was saying, I need to know how to. I can't share. Maybe IT can unshare my screen so that I don't take more of your time. As I was saying, in India, the problem is a systems-based problem, and therefore, what we need is a lot of maturity in how police are going to be implementing enforcement, because the top 1% is very easy to enforce with and enforce against if we have standard rules, standard regulations, standard processes, and a consistent attitude to enforcement. So that's me, and back to you.
Very interesting and shocking data, Mr. Marchandani. Just want to ask a few questions, like follow-up questions. A, how big is this sample size? Because if you're saying, I guess 12% of Indians are not wearing seatbelts, I guess, if I'm correct.
Okay, so sample size, I'll tell you on average, the Bombay-Pune Expressway is 70,000 vehicles a day. The Delhi Eastern Peripheral is about the same, 7,000 movements. So if you add 70 plus 47, so you're getting about close to 200,000 movements a day in the top 3 high-speed corridors in India. Now you can extrapolate what 12% and 24% means.
And we see mobile phone, smartphone usage as the biggest distraction. Your data also suggests the same?
2% to 3% of India will be driving high speed and distracted. And that's the same if you look at Canada, Australia, France. It is the new drunk driving, so to speak, and it will grow because you will have Uber drivers and also some other drivers that are engaging with their smartphone because that is part of their work, beyond people just texting. It's a short-term issue because integration will come very quickly over the next 6 or 7 years with your dashboard integrated with your phone by voice. But 6 or 7 years of 2 to 3% distraction is an incredible amount of distraction. And today, Kranti, the problem is it's not recorded as distraction in the accident. It's recorded as speeding or other reasons. So we're not sensitive to the fact that, yes, he was speeding, but if he wasn't distracted, you would not have had that accident.
Not only speeding, there's one more aspect to it, which is really bothering. When you're driving, you're driving correctly, and people who are using or talking over the phone, they don't realize that they are, slowing down because their brain is basically focusing on the chat, and they are making themselves vulnerable and others as well. And when you try and maybe this is like maybe not Indian Delhi phenomena, you try to frown and look at whatever, give them a look, but it doesn't bother them. One more, sorry, before I move on to other guests, just one more question. Talk about these violations which are recorded. many people, they also feel that if we have seen many traffic cops and many departments, many states, they are standing waiting for the offenders at the red light. And when we have these data, this is more, when is better enforcement in play? While, challaning them physically or sending the challans at their homes or e-challans?
That's a very, very good question, Kranti. And we worked with Save Life in on the Bombay-Pune Expressway, and I know Piyush is going to be presenting a little later, where through one of the innovative ideas, in fact, we were sending a WhatsApp photograph through the system to the police at the toll booth so that the enforcement would be instantaneous. Within 20 minutes of your engagement, you were getting a challan, and that really works the best. Having instant punishment works the best, which is why, for example, our cameras are designed with a white flash, not an infrared flash, because people get the speeding behavior feedback that says the camera has picked it up, and then the 20 cars around this speeding car also slow down because they realize that in fact I am being caught. So there's many different ways to communicate back to the driver that you have been infringed, but rapid enforcement rather than delayed enforcement is the best way to do so. And therefore, I don't have a problem, for example, when maps identify a speed camera, because the speed camera is not there to make money. The speed camera is there to slow you down. So if the map, the Google map or the Map My India map is alerting you before you get there, that's the speed camera, that's great, because the speed camera is in a spot where they want you to slow down.
That's interesting, because I was actually thinking about that before Mr. Verma, said, because I've seen many, cab drivers, they were using those apps to detect speed, cameras, and I was generally in two minds whether call it, a hack or unethical or ethical. So if I get your point. This makes sense. That it is there to slow you down.
Kranti, can I come in? This is Ashish.
Sure.
Yeah, so just 2 points, just to reiterate what Mr. Mirchandani also mentioned. With the licensing system in Delhi, what we have also seen is, the camera project in Delhi and the Ring Road. What we have also seen is, over a time, people get to know that there are cameras here. We need to slow down. We don't have to make offenses, but that really helps. Even that particular information that there is a camera, there is a fear of enforcement there. Even that particular small thing really helps. So when that, and second point is, what rather is more shocking to me, what the pictures showed was by Mirchandani sir, was people are aware where the cameras are. People are aware that they're being monitored, and despite that, there is there are, on the some people there is hardly any fear, and rather they are showing signals. So if that is the state of relaxation people have despite technology, I think really something needs to be done on that particular aspect. I can understand people are not aware. People are aware and then they're offending. Something needs to be done strongly over there. Thank you.
Definitely. And there's one another aspect to it, that so many times even drivers like us, we are in two minds whether to cross this crossing or not, because the red light is hiding behind a tree or some ads or some hoardings. Some red lights are malfunctioning, and when U-turn is not allowed, it is not mentioned, and they catch you, and then you say it was not visible because it was hiding behind some tree, and then you still have to pay. So obviously, one aspect is that as well. Mr. Mathai, if you could, answer. I just want to understand one visual Mr. Mirchandani showed, where the front number plate was hidden. What are the mechanism? What are the requirements and norms for number plates? Because I've seen many superbike enthusiasts, superbikers, they always hated those front number plates because it just ruins the look of the bike. So could you share that?
The regulatory mechanism is very much in place, like what is the high security what are required. What can be done is, as mentioned, if you know everything and still if you can't follow and how it is enforced, is a challenge that needs to be addressed on a bigger platform, on a bigger way. As I was hearing both the speakers, Mr. Mirchandani and Maruti person, The knowledge part framing after carrying out an elaborate exercise through stakeholders, interactions, and all. It's a big exercise, and it is put into place, ensuring that it gives the best result. But where we facing the challenge is the mechanism, and I like what Mr. Chandani was mentioning about. If the response can be faster, if you notice there is a flaw happening or somebody has flouted the norm, if it can be acted upon fast, I think the enforcement part become much easier and it can be on a much faster pace. That is one of the great learning that we can implement very fast, because we have the technology available to see what is required and what is needed. But if enforced properly, everything what we are doing will not give the needed result. And as I mentioned, I'm also mentioning the seatbelt norms are there. So many other regulations. The INC centers, certificates are coming in, so that the older vehicles which are not safer can get out of the system. Are also being brought into place. So everything can be brought in, but the enforcement mechanism needs to be much more robust.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mathai. Mr. Rohan Verma, I would like to come to you for this question, because what we've seen, I'll give you one example. In Noida, there was a news where same person was challaned many times, again and again, every day for 1 year, I guess. Before him getting to know that he's being challaned because of there's some speed camera which is located just in the middle of his office to home commute. Why this happened? Because there was no communication. We have seen, electronic e-challaning and stuff. Do we have better mechanism for challan delivery instantaneously? Because as Mr. Mirchandani also said, if it is happening, instantly, we are more prone to, or we will be following all the rules more properly. So is that technology available? Where is that technology lacking? How do we use technology more and more for enforcement?
Yeah, I think, these are just about connecting the dots digitally between the different stakeholders. The e-challan system exists, but it has to be connected to the driver somehow. Now, the driver is basically in a particular vehicle, has likely a navigation system or navigation app or a telematics system. And that should tell what the vehicle number is, and hence the person should probably get an immediate alert. And so speed camera is one where he's actually violated the accident. So I'll cover that first. There might be some implementation issues in that, who is the registered owner of the vehicle, who are the associated drivers, etc. But all of that can be sorted using technology, because you can associate drivers to a vehicle. In any case, when you want to do driver behavior coaching to people, it has to be to the driver and not to the vehicle and the registered owner, because you could have 3 people driving the same vehicle. So I think technology exists. It's about digitally connecting these systems through APIs. My other point is that, if the more information you can make available to the driver about what could lead to a road accident or road safety, I think it is first and foremost, people don't want to get into an accident, but it's the lack of information that they might have. So if you can tell them speed breaker ahead, pothole ahead, sharp curve ahead, accident prone zone ahead, speed camera ahead, slow down, as well as if you can tell them that, look, your last drive, you harshly accelerated so many times or braked so many times, you're entering a stretch where golden hour serviceability is not there. I think that information can empower the citizen, the driver, and help reduce or minimize road accidents through these very low cost, simple ADAS systems. And of course, then you have the whole cameras and AI and all of that. So these are my 2 points on this.
Yeah, but I also feel that when we see so many drivers, even when the information or warning is in front of them, still they don't want to follow it, because the enforcement is they know it's like that. that broken window effect, that they know that they can get away with it, they'll cross it. I've seen it.
Chanti, I'll add one small thing to this.
Yeah.
Also, the ability to have other citizens, good Samaritans, report issues that they find on the road and on other accidents. I was driving from Jaipur to Delhi, and really this guy was, monkeying around in the middle of the night with his car, doing these wheelies and all in the middle of the highway, endangering everybody. So all I did is I took a video of that, put it on the map, and reported it that, look, somebody is doing mischief at this location. This is the video. So if the police was having that interconnected system, immediately they would have seen where that incident is happening, what is happening, and who is doing, and they could have taken corrected action. So these connecting the dots between different systems, educating drivers, empowering other passerbys or pedestrians or citizens, and empowering the enforcement together can create an ecosystem.
Ashish, I'll just come to you. I guess Ravin wanted to add some point before.
Thanks, Kanti. Your question was about instantaneous feedback, and I wanted to tell you that the road that Ashish talked about in the Delhi that Maruti has funded with the speed cameras, in fact, is linked to the two government systems called Vahan and Sarathi, which is run by the NIC, the government body, that basically takes the infringement photograph, queries the database, identifies the car and driver, and then sends a text to the driver instantly. So you can technically get already within 1 minute a text. The problem is, in our discussions with them, because we use the same system in Chennai and in Hyderabad on the Pune Expressway, NIC's success rate is 30%. And that's because first, the automatic number plates are only 60% compliant. So you've got to drop there. And then the database is not clean. So, the car might be registered to somebody else. The mobile phone might be somebody else. Their mobile phone might be changed. It might be a prepaid mobile. And so all that data is never clean. So you get instantaneous feedback at 30% of the time. But to me, I'm happy with that, because if we can get 30% already in India, getting to 60 and to 90 is just a question of focus, effort, and determination to make it happen. Think about it. We don't smoke in public places. It turned over 8 years ago on the 1st of April. You would never have thought that this would be possible in India, but it is. We just need to have the same focus with enforcement, and it will happen.
So a quick point, Ashish.
Yeah, so no, that's exactly what I was trying to answer what Mr. Virchandani. So answer to your question is digitally very much possible. The only thing that we need to do is connect Vahan with local traffic police systems of all states. Yes, the mobile numbers capturing, the old mobile numbers capturing was a problem, but it can be all sorted out. It just needs one focus. Probably over a year, this 30% percentage can go up. You can increase that with some bit of focus and an effort. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because we've seen that decentralization of so many departments working together on one topic, and they never end up agreeing with each other, and so many things are stuck. We've seen that in, for example, traffic lights maintained by someone else, challaned by someone else, and we have seen that as well. So yes, we need that centralized intent, and everyone should come together. And now I would like to invite Mr. Anish Kumar, who's also co-host, because he's also co-chairperson ASSOCHAM CSR Council, and he would like to, Mr. Kumar, I would request you to please add some pointers, because I guess GMR is also working on road safety, aspect, and what actions, what initiatives have you taken?
Yeah, so I'm very happy to be a part of this seminar and to know and get to know so many new things and how technology is aiding. I think the traffic behavior, the road users' behavior, and getting to accident rate less. So it's quite enlightening for me. So thank you to all the analysts. From our side, see, GMR as a group, as a company, has been involved in basically highway developments. We have several highways across the country, which we have built and are operating and all. So our experience is more in terms of the highways. And I would say, apart from the things that have been already highlighted by different panelists, I think 3 things which in the highway we have noticed, which are major causes for accidents, apart from speeding, of course, is the wrong side, driving. So there's a lot of wrong side driving, especially in the highways where villages are adjacent to the highways. And we find that, because the U-turn where you can take is often a kilometer or 2 away, a lot of people indulge in wrong side driving. That leads to a lot of accidents. Even with the two-wheelers and even cyclists and all crossing the highway from the middle and all. So that is a big thing in the highways which is happening for the accidents, and that what we have been trying to do. So every highway that we operate, we also have our own foundation, the GMR Foundation, and the CSR arm working there, and we focus our activities on the road awareness part. So this is very, you can say, highways is very personalized. So apart from doing the awareness programs here, the toll plazas with the truck users and all those, dhabas and all, we also go to the villages and have awareness programs on this kind of road behavior. And there are stretches where we have seen that, after repeated programs, and we have monitored this data over the months and years, with these awareness programs on wrong side driving, on, crossing the highway in the middle of the road and all that, this has, largely gone down with some very good percentages. People drying grains on the highway stretches, on the side of the highway stretches. And the night, in the night also wearing the right kinds of clothes, the light clothes, those kind of things. And even in your bicycle, having your reflector and those kind of things. Kind of small interventions which are very, you can say, per user centric, doing it at the village level, doing it at the school level, college level, and all has resulted in a lot of awareness and behavior change. So we have been trying to do that in our limited way. Of course, at the toll plazas, because we have that kind of, you can say, avenue to reach every user, we use it to the best extent. So we have, the road safety month has just concluded, so a lot of awareness and user contact during that month, but all through the year also. That also is very, personalized. We take the mobile numbers, we text messages, we have, of course, a lot of manual pamphlets and other things, skits, dramas, all kinds of things that we do. But we find that, because we have a certain stretch, say 100 kilometers of GMR highway, when we use this very targeted kind of awareness intervention, both to the roadside villages as well as the users which are using the facilities of the toll plaza or the dhabas and all, there has been a decline in the as well as the other violations. Highways are different, but of course, speeding and driving remains the highest causes for accidents there.
Definitely, and you mentioned that you just focused on highways, but that is the actual, I would say, the action place. Because if you look at the data, I think more than 2/3 accident happen on the highways only, national, state highways. That figure is anyway. This is, I guess, if you remember last time also we had this discussion that we are, almost 80-90% focus of us when we talk about road safety, is metropolitan cities. But reality that we are facing, that we have to reduce accidents on the highways. So one point which you mentioned, which is very correct, and उस चक्कर में कई छोटे-छोटे heart attacks on any drive मुझे होते रहते हैं because people coming from the wrong side. How can we change that? Because obviously awareness is one thing. One more aspect which you have seen, दो एक गांव के खेत या एक गांव का घर बटा हुआ है, हाईवे बीच में है, अपने खेत पे जा रहा नहीं जा रहा है, 3 किलोमीटर 4 किलोमीटर के बाद डिवाइडर है. Those kind of road engineering, have we come to some kind of understanding where we make it, we engineer the roads, highways in a way, or provide passes? How can we reduce that wrong side driving?
See, what we have, been tried, it is not possible to change the behavior for everyone, or, to have a very high success rate. But what we have found is that, showing videos of the accidents that have occurred because of the wrong side driving and all has a very dramatic and drastic effect. So it happens in a second, because we have cameras. Most highways have cameras and all, and you can see those videos and all. So you can see that, it is out of control of a driver or a car or whatever is coming, stop at that moment.
True.
So that kind of thing, that it can be like nobody's fault, but it was a fault that, the person is coming from wrong side. This guy is he's not, over speeding as per the limits. But at 80 kilometers also, it's very difficult to stop, if somebody comes just from the, you can say that, not jaywalking, but just, crossing from the divider this side. It's very, very difficult.
Yes. It is very, physically, it's almost like impossible. Ashish, you also mentioned about how Mr. and Mrs. Khiladi syndrome is there in the cities. But Ravin, if you have some data on, wrong side driving, because as we know, most of the accidents happen on the highways, and that wrong side driving is like, big disease if you see on, Indian highways.
Yes, absolutely. So the systems we have pick up two ways. So we design the systems to pick up wrong side driving, and you will find about 3 or 4% offensive wrong side driving. Now, what you typically get with wrong side driving, you can attack on one end because quite often it's the concessionaire's own maintenance vehicles that are going the wrong side because they're trying to get to a location where they want to do some maintenance. And so that's a question of implementing stronger safety regimen and safety awareness at the concessionaires, which all concessionaires are willing to do. But on the other hand, what you do get is the two-wheelers from the village who are on the wrong side, and the rickshaws from the village, and the Tata Magics and the Leyland Dos that are from the village going the wrong way. And these no one enforces because these are the mafia. The police doesn't want to get involved. You end up having a riot or people being beaten up. And so it's a question of road engineering to understand why are they doing that and what can I do to the engineering of the road to make sure that they do not need to risk themselves and everybody else to do that. All they're trying to do is save petrol, save diesel, trying to save time. So if we include that in the way we design our road and in the way the concessionaire is rewarded for safety on the road, therefore be focused about spending the additional money required to address this situation. For example, on the Yelahanka to AP border toll road in Bangalore, they have location. So they closed off the U-turn in that location because a lot of people were dying in a blind corner, and there was a riot where the police had to withdraw. And the local panchayat came and recreated that U-turn because that was the only way for the village. Otherwise, they had 2 kilometers to go to, So wrong side driving is not because we are indisciplined. It's because the motivation is to save time and money. And how do we help through our road design to achieve that is really where we need to focus rather than the enforcement of it. Because the enforcement will result, particularly in the north, in places like Haryana and UP, you will get to do no enforcement. You do it once and then you get beaten up.
And even well-connected.
Comment on this. One of the things is that in the engineering part is to while designing the highway, we have to be cognizant of these this kind of thing which will crop up and have underpasses at those places. I mean, we have had issues where we have built underpasses later on, or side roads for that. That is the only solution because it is we can't expect that everyone will take that 3-4 kilometers detour to have the U-turn. That is saving diesel being the primary. So while designing, while engineering that whole thing, being cognizant that the villagers or population is there to have that kind of facility either under passes or a place where they can take U-turn safely and all that should be there in the design phases.
True. If you look at Delhi also, what we see is like the moving traffic gets the precedence, and while planning also, we end up thinking about cars and motorcycles. We don't think about pedestrians so much, and that's when the clash happens. I guess highways also face the same issue. But now, Ravi Michandani mentioned about saving time, and that's a motivation: saving time and saving some fuel. I would like to go to Mr. Mathai, Dr. Mathai. Sir, we have also seen Indians trying to save. This is what manufacturers also say, that customers won't pay for expensive safety equipment. How do you see that trend changing? A, and B, what are the new safety norms which are coming into effect very soon, which we might see on Indian cars and motorcycles?
Regarding safety, I think there are no two ways about it. People are quite responsive to that. I have seen that. The only problem that happens is the bare minimum everybody is willing to provide. Means meeting the regulatory requirement, yes, that is more than sort of a sufficient sort of thing. But as you mentioned, there are agencies. Recently, one of the agencies, what they did was they took a few of our cars, carried out tests as per outside norms, the European norms and all that, and flashed those results. And particularly the ones that did very well are showcasing it in a big way. But that was a test that was more than what is required of the Indian condition, means what the Indian regulations were asking, it was beyond that the test was conducted. So if you ask that, yes, there are vehicle manufacturers who are aligned, who wants to give a safer vehicle, much more than what is required of. But the minimum requirement, everybody is meeting. There was a mention about when Mr. Chutani was mentioning about the seat belts and all that. Yes, the vendors who are on the market means who provide this seat belts or the clamps and all that. There are challenges in that, because if you go in for a spare ones or anything happens, there are cheap versions available which may not be certified sort of a thing. There are certification mechanisms. Anyway, one area that needs to be built in a much robust way is the data analytics and how best we can digest the data that we are getting in and how fast we can respond to it. Whether it is on the after the accidents or on to the certifying part of the components, who are certified vendors who are available. So such things, if are put into place, the mechanisms are put into place, I think the spare market or the after treatment, the market, the tier 2 suppliers and all that, they are interested in it, because India recently, when they were discussing about the PLI also, they were feeling the gap that India also have a big market, but none of the major suppliers who are exporting it are not making it our home. We are still not an export hub sort of a thing. We are just meeting our own requirements sort of a thing for the spares and all that. So this, as particularly when safety comes into play, this is a very crucial aspect. Needs to put it, the mechanism needs to put into a robust mechanism needs to put into place for such things. And the new norms, anyway, I think more of norms can come in, like whether it is the alcohol lock sort of a thing, or whether it is driver assistance systems like drowsiness alarm. Anyway, overspeeding alarms have slowly come in. There are these things are coming. So these are already being put into place, but how much of it will be, means drivers or the people will be adopting it and will be able to yield the results is something we need to learn. I think the education mechanism or a mechanism to disseminate the knowledge in a more robust way, as you mentioned, the last month was completely for the road safety. So many activities many people have been doing. We also have been doing many interactions with the college students and the people. So we see the gap over there. We see the gap. Means yes, people understand, but still many of the gaps are still there. Yes.
Right. Dr. Mithai, just one follow-up question. What are the norms which are in the pipeline right now, as you mentioned?
The pipeline norms, I think the AIS, anyway, the 145, some of them are already implemented. This MSIL has also mentioned about that, a speed alert system, seat belt reminder, manual override, airbag for the assistance, vehicle reverse sensors. These are already in place now. Few more things are coming, is maybe in the future that may come, is a lane departure warning system, the advanced emergency braking system, something called something post this, what is called the accident emergency call system. This may be some of the things that are under discussion as of now.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Verma, before I go to Mr. Verma, Ashish, wanted to understand, you know, we were discussing usage or new features in new cars and stuff. How are customers demanding as far as new features? If you talk about the Bluetooth connectivity one, for example, how customers looking into it, because that is a kind of convenient feature and maybe safer version for using smartphones.
Yes, Krantiji, what we have seen is in terms of, let's say, customer looking for higher features. The sale of cars, you know, pan across industry, you know, has gone up significantly up. You know, also what we have seen is earlier people used to take vehicles with a bare minimum, you know, the lowermost variant, and then there was an upgrade towards a middle variant. Generally, we Indians tend to, you know, buy a middle variant where, you know, the top end features are not there. But what we have seen in the recent, let's say, last 2 to 3 years, there has been a significant upsurge in terms of customer choosing, I mean, all the high-end features, including, of course, Bluetooth connectivity is a very now a very bare minimum feature. But to give an answer to you comprehensively, customers are willing to pay for features which are for safety, which are for convenience, which are for connectivity, and there is a significant upsurge in that number.
Right. Now, Mr. Verma, just one quick question. If you look at, the cars, as Dr. Mathai also mentioned, most of the cars are, not most, but yeah, many cars come with, very high level of telematics, connectivity, internet, and connected cars, everything. So how do you see that helping making Indian cars safer?
Yeah, I think fundamentally this connected services or connected vehicles enable information to flow to the drivers in real time. Also, with this voice interface, built-in voice assistants, it's a more natural interface through which the drivers can kind of interact and ask their, for example, for setting the destination, etc. So, and it also allows for vehicle to infrastructure and vehicle to vehicle communication around safety alerts. So, for example, if a car in front of me encountered a speed breaker or pothole, I can use that to communicate to the car behind me or accident, etc. So, I mean, I think this is a great move that all the OEMs, whether four-wheeler or two-wheeler or commercial vehicles, which have started to kind of build in internet or connectivity, and then all these value-added services can get layered on to enhance safety and also convenience both.
Perfect. So we have better real-time information coming to our system so that we can make better judgment. I mean, right now we have to look at the map just to find out where is the traffic, how can we avoid it. But yes, you're right. If we manage to get all those infos, we can plan our drives in a safer manner. So now I would like to invite Mr. Anish Kumar, our co-host also, and I would request him to say a few words because we are about to wind up, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Before I come to you, sir, let me thank all the viewers, all the people, everyone who has joined, and lots of people have written to us also. And thank you so much for joining. Sorry.
Yeah, so my job at the last is to render the vote of thanks. And but first, I will just start with that. It has been a very, very a learning experience for me also. I mean, the way each panelist with its own expertise and knowledge contributed to this webinar is very, very good, and it is useful for our all the stakeholders, and all my highway project people were also attending. I extended this to them. So I saw that in the 130 plus participants that we have, all our teams are also there. So they must also have learned about these new things which are coming in. So to start with, I would like to thank Mr. Raveen Meerchandani ji, Chairman Adore Powertron, and I mean really how one single technology of capturing people while they are driving, how powerful it is. I mean, he has showed it, and all the data that he has shared, all the photos that he has shared. I mean, this is how we can actually look at changing user behavior, how we can help enforcement agencies to come up with the right kind of enforcement measures and all that. So I think a very, very good we can say contribution from his side, both technology point of view and the way it was shared to all the how this one technology can be of use to us. So thank you for the I would also like to thank Dr. Reji Mathai, who's Director, Automotive Research Association of India, and all his knowledge and expertise about what are the different enforcement standards which are already come in, which are going to come. And what he also talked about was when the Indian standards are constantly upgraded, and many of them are already enforced, and they have led to at least reduction in the fatality. So maybe not so much of accident, but sure that with the airbag technology is already imposed, a lot of fatalities have come down, and that is what the data also shows. So I think that there we have a good beginning that we have made. I also like to thank Mr. Ashish Chotani ji from Maruti, and he shared a very you can say humorous presentation also. The first few slides very nicely conveying what kind of user behavior we have in India. more so in the urban parts and all. But very hard-hitting facts also in this presentation, the realities of road user behavior, as well as Maruti's effort in aiding government to how to carry this out in the licensing system. So good effort by Maruti in that. Mr. Rohan Verma, I think this is a map my India. We have been hearing and listening about the company more in the last weekend months, but really a commendable job that they are doing, and how data and technology driven decision making can help reducing accidents, can help people reach to the golden hour. That is a very good technology, and I would say all my highway colleagues and other people to have users use this technology, have them downloaded in their mobile phone. That the dark spot thing and the golden hour thing is very easily identified, and people's lives can be saved. So his company is doing a great job in terms of this data and tech-driven decision making to road fatalities. I would also like to thank Mr. Kranti Sambhavji. I think the very good steering whole webinar, the right pertinent questions to each of the experts, and to also his summarizing of how the whole scenario in the country. So thank you very much, Krantiji, for channeling the whole thought process so well. I'd also like to thank Sandeep Jain and all the ASSOCHAM team members who have organized this webinar. Everybody's awareness and getting to know about road safety more. Last but not the least is, of course, all the participants, about 130 plus, 135 was the highest number I've noted, so about 150 people attending this webinar. I think the message will go far and wide. So thank you all the participants to be a part of this seminar. Thank you very much for your presence. I urge you to please continue. There is another session, another panel session, which is going to just begin. So thank you once again, all the panelists, to ASSOCHAM, all the participants also. We wish you, a lot of better road safety wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this time. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all. So thank you, Kranti, to wonderful moderate the session. So first session. Now DCP of Haryana already joined. Ms. Tanu Jain from the Ministry of Health has already joined. Mr. Paul Clark already joined. So, and I request to all, please continue to stay with us if you just like take some valuable time and to stay with us. I request to just like start the set. Over to Ms. Rajni Gandhi. Ms. Rajni. Rajni, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, very good morning. I hope I am audible right now. Yeah. A very good morning to everyone, and it was really nice to listen to the panelists. In the first session, and very interesting informations, especially from Mr. Ravin from Adore, the way he has briefed about the points and the behavior issues on the highways, and the data has been shown. Kranti has raised the issues very clearly and taking this session ahead. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself, Rajni Gandhi. I'm the founder and general secretary of TRACS Road Safety NGO and director of Indian Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety. And in the second session, we have with us Dr. Tanu Jain, Assistant Director General, Directorate General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. We have Mr. Paul Clark, former Transport Minister, United Kingdom, and Special Advisor to the Indian Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety. We have with us Mr. David Ward, President towards Zero Foundation and Global Ncap. We have with us Shri Ramakant Pushpaji, Additional Superintendent of Police Traffic, Ghaziabad. Mr. Suresh Kumar, HPS, Deputy Commissioner of Police Traffic, Faridabad. We have with us Mr. D.K. Bharadwaj, Deputy Commissioner of Police Traffic, Gurugram. Shri Venkatesh Dwivedi ji, Director, Project and BD, Energy Efficiency Services Limited. We have with us Mr. Ashutosh or Inspector Ashutosh from Noida Traffic Police as well. And maybe we will have a chance to talk with Shri Ganesh Prasad Sahaji also, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Police Traffic, Noida. And we have in this session Mr. Piyush Tiwari, founder and CEO of Safe Life Foundation. So welcome you all who have till now already joined as a panelist, and I think many of them are going to attend it soon. So before we'll start, I think now Mr. David has also joined us. So just want to say hello again to everyone. And before we start the session, I just want to give a small brief about the session, what we are going to discuss about actually in this 1 hour session with us. We are going to talk about the challenges we had faced in the last decade of action, 2011 to 2020. What were the learnings out of that on all the pillars of road safety, and how we are going to take those learnings as an action in the next, this 2021 to 2030 decade of action. So we are going to talk about road safety management because the officers from the different district also have attached with us on this. Safe infrastructure, safer vehicle. We are going to listen from Mr. David, how in the developing world we are promoting safe vehicles, and we know that India is heading in case of safer cars. Safe road user behavior. We have Mr. Paul with us, who is a former transport minister of UK, and has done a lot of things in case of safety of senior citizen and other issues as a minister of road transport. Post-crash response, because Dr. Tanujan is with us, and we have been enlightened really very much because he has always guided us, the NGOs, everyone, that how to take these issues ahead. And we have with us Piyush, who is taking road safety ahead in case of India and inspiring other NGOs as well. So starting with Tanuji. Am I audible, Tanuji, to you as well?
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I was muted. So,
Yeah.
Rajni, hi, and very good afternoon to all the panelists. And I think I am dealing with post-crash response, so I should come at last. But you have put me at first because let us, try to avoid the crash. So let's, I think, maybe hear from the other experts also. And Rajni, I would also like to share 1 or 2 or 3 videos regarding the first aid that we have made for road traffic accident injuries. And so after I think maybe you can take 1 or 2 speakers, then I will start with my talk. Thank you. Thank you, Rajni, and thank you, ASSOCHAM, for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. So to avoid the crash, let's start with the because we have with us then we'll go as per the pillars of road safety. So if we talk about road safety management, and we have the police officers with us. So I see we have with us DCP traffic, Ramanan Kushwaji as Additional Superintendent of Police Traffic, Ghaziabad. Sir, what do you think as per the challenges? Because now traffic police is somewhere a role model for the normal public as well. And somewhere the enforcement agency who is enforcing the law on the road, and that is very much crucial job. So as per you, what are the challenges in your side? Because many times we say traffic police is not doing that, or many complaints are this. But what challenges do you see as per your point of view? Over to you, sir. Okay, I think there is some problem. So can we take the same question to the DCP Traffic, Shri D.K. Bharadwaj ji, if you are also listening us, and you can also share the challenges at your end and the how we can reduce the gap between the public and the police authorities in case of road safety.
Ma'am, I have prepared a presentation.
Okay, so we can have that. Yes, please.
Ma'am, can I have the share rights, please?
Yeah. Sandeep ji, please do the needful.
Yeah, IT team, please provide the rights. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Friends, DIG cum DCP Traffic Program. Our today's topic is safer mobility and responsible, right?
Yeah.
Madam, I am audible.
Yes, yes.
This is about our Millennium City of Gurgaon. No doubt, लास्ट ईयर के मुकाबले हमारा जो फेटल एक्सीडेंट्स है मैडम काफी ऑलमोस्ट 25% रिड्यूस हुआ है, 335 के करीब। नो डाउट इट इज ड्यू टू कोविड, लेकिन फिर भी काफी इसमें कंट्रोल हुआ है। और 45% जो इसमें क्रैश एक्सीडेंट्स जो सफरर होते हैं वो हमारे पेडिस्ट्रियंस और साइकिलिस्ट ही सफर करते हैं। अपार्ट फ्रॉम पुलिस, other stakeholders like GFDA, MCG, etc. Slide. This is about engineering. Like बिलासपुर चौक, राजीव चौक, हमने यहाँ पे ट्रैफिक डाइवर्ट करके ना काफी एक्सीडेंट्स में हम बेस्ट एग्जांपल है फाजिलपुर का है गुड़गांव में, बिलासपुर चौक का है, राजीव चौक का है। रोड सेफ्टी मेगा फेस्टिवल स्कूल में, कॉलेज में हम इसको ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं, कंपटीशन करवा रहे हैं to create awareness among students regarding traffic rules. इसके अलावा हमारा एक रोड सेफ्टी सेंटर है जो मेरे यहाँ डीसीपी ट्रैफिक के ऑफिस में है। वायलेटर्स का चालान होता है तो उसको हम 1.5 घंटे की ये फिल्म मैंडेटरी है, उसमें हम ट्रैफिक से रिलेटेड 2 पॉइंट्स के बारे में हम बताते हैं, और जो भी चलान उसका तभी पे किया जाता है जब वो रोड सेफ्टी नॉलेज सेंटर में 1.5 आवर की वो मूवी उसको दिखाई जाती है। इसके अलावा हमने जो एजुकेटिव फिल्म्स भी हम चला रहे हैं 50 लगभग स्कूल्स में और कॉलेजेस में गुड़गांव में, हमने ट्रैफिक रूल्स की अवेयरनेस के लिए ये प्रोजेक्ट चलाया है। रोड सेफ्टी वर्कशॉप भी हम ट्रक ड्राइवर्स, ऑटो ड्राइवर्स का हम करते रहते हैं टाइम टू टाइम, क्योंकि ट्रक ड्राइवर्स हैं, ऑटो ड्राइवर्स हैं, दे आर लेस एजुकेटेड पीपल, तो इनको डिटेल से हम इसके बारे में, ट्रैफिक रूल्स के बारे में हम बताते हैं। रोड सेफ्टी समर कैंप भी हम लगाते हैं स्टूडेंट्स का, उनको बुकलेट्स भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं। गुरुग्राम के अंदर लगभग 864 कैमरेज हमने 174 पॉइंट्स हमने इंस्टॉल किए हुए हैं, जो कि पोस्टल चालान उनका कैमरों हेल्प से किया जाता है। जो भी वायलेटर होता है उनके नंबर प्लेट भी कैमरा हमारा आइडेंटिफाई करता है, और ये गुड़गांव में जो है काफी सक्सेसफुल है। पहले काफी लेकिन आजकल कोविड की वजह से गांव में नहीं चल रहा है। इसके अलावा हम एनजीओ की, पब्लिक की मदद से, आरएसओस की मदद से रिफ्लेक्टिव टेप्स ट्रक के ऊपर, साइकिल्स के ऊपर, इससे काफी फॉग के टाइम में और लेस विजिबल जो कंडीशन होती है तो उसमें काफी इफेक्ट 180 के करीब हमारे पास रोड सेफ्टी ऑफिसर्स हैं, 50 के करीब इसमें एक्टिव रोड सेफ्टी ऑफिसर्स हैं जो हमारा ट्रैफिक पुलिस की मैनेजमेंट में काफी हेल्पफुल हैं। भारत सरकार की इंस्ट्रक्शंस के अकॉर्डिंग एवरी ईयर रोड सेफ्टी वीक ऑर्गेनाइज होता है। इस साल हम रोड सेफ्टी मंथ ऑर्गेनाइज किया है, जो कि हम कम्युनिटीज में जाकर के, मॉल्स में जाके और पब्लिक को ट्रैफिक रूल्स के बारे में हमने अवेयर किया है। इसके अलावा जनवरी के और क्रिसमस के उपलक्ष्य में हम गब्बर और ट्रैफिक ताऊ का भी बनाते हैं, जो कि हरियाणवी भाषा में उनको ट्रैफिक वायलेटर्स को समझाना है और जो अच्छे काम करता है उनको फूल दे करके सम्मानित। ये भी हमारा एक अच्छा एग्जाम्पल सेट हो रहा है गुड़गांव के अंदर पर्टिकुलरली। ट्रैफिक पुलिस से रिलेटेड मैम अदर जो एजेंसीज हैं, आरटीए है जो कि रेस्ट चेकिंग कर रही है कमर्शियल व्हीकल्स की, इससे भी काफी वायलेशन में फर्क पड़ रहा है कि जो अदर स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं जैसे स्कूल्स हैं, कॉलेजेस हैं मैम, उनकी भी एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कॉलेजेस के हेड्स की, प्रिंसिपल्स की, जो अपने स्टूडेंट्स के समझाएं ट्रैफिक रूल्स के बारे में, अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करें उनके अंदर, उनको समझाएं। जैसा हम आचरण करेंगे हमारे बच्चे, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स फॉलो करेंगे। तो हमें स्कूल्स और कॉलेजेस में भी इन चीजों की डिटेल्ड अवेयरनेस बच्चों को देनी चाहिए, जो कि ट्रैफिक रूल्स को वायलेट ना करें। नेक्स्ट है मैम हॉस्पिटल्स का। जो जब भी फेटल एक्सीडेंट कोई होता है तो जो पहला आवर है वो काफी गोल्डन आवर होता है। उस फर्स्ट आवर के अंदर हॉस्पिटल्स को बड़े वे में पेशेंट्स की लाइफ सेव करने के लिए एफर्ट्स करने चाहिए और एक नेटवर्क क्रिएट करना चाहिए बिटवीन लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज एंड हॉस्पिटल्स। फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर कोई फेटल एक्सीडेंट हुआ है तो हमारे लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज को और हॉस्पिटल्स को नंबर शेयर होने चाहिए। लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसी को ये पता होना चाहिए कि ये एक्सीडेंट हुआ, नियरेस्ट हॉस्पिटल हमारा कहाँ है, कहाँ लेके जाना है, एम्बुलेंस कितना नंबर है, और ये गुड़गांव के अंदर हमने ये शुरुआत की है। सिनेमा हॉल्स के अंदर भी हम स्लाइड्स के उससे हम ये संदेश दे सकते हैं ट्रैफिक रूल्स के बारे में कि भाई वायलेशन नहीं करनी चाहिए। छोटी छोटी क्लिप्स लगा के हम पब्लिक को अवेयर कर सकते हैं। कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिस में भी ये काउंसलिंग करनी चाहिए कि भाई अपने जो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम जो है उसको अडॉप्ट करें या पूलिंग सिस्टम करें, इससे मतलब कम से कम ट्रांसपोर्ट जो है सड़क के ऊपर आएगा। ट्रैफिक पुलिस का जीएमडी का मैडम 2030 का ये हमारा विजन है कि 50% फेटल एक्सीडेंट्स में हम कमी लेकर आएंगे। ये विद द हेल्प ऑफ अदर स्टेक होल्डर्स, एनजीओ और जीएमडी इसमें फ्यूचर एक्शन प्लान तैयार कर रही है कि जिससे काफी मतलब रिड्यूस किया जा सकेगा एक्सीडेंट्स का। These are the definitions: critical road safety aspects, traffic jam, major crossing, accident, dark spot, signal crossing, speed limit. These are the definitions, ma'am. गुड़गांव के अंदर जो है अभी सीसीटीवी कैमरे से हम सर्वेलेंस कर रहे हैं जो ट्रैफिक वायलेटर्स हैं, और फ्यूचर प्लानिंग ये कि विद द हेल्प ऑफ ड्रोन से भी हम ये फ्यूचर में इसको करेंगे। और जो भी गाड़ियां ट्रैफिक होंगी उसमें मॉडर्न इक्विपमेंट्स फिट करके उनको कंट्रोल रूम से उनका कनेक्शन किया जाएगा ताकि जो भी वायलेटर्स हैं उन पे क्लोजली मॉनिटर हम कर सकें।
That's really nice, sir. in case of, if I can interrupt you here, because this is one of the important, ये कहीं ना कहीं important issue had to be discussed, because in the previous session, it has been discussed about the penalties, etc. So like here, we are also, in your previous slide, you were mentioning about that the way you are thinking to make the enforcement, chalaning system, etc. So there was a concern from the previous session that in case of chalaning, how to make it more smooth, because in Noida, unfortunately, there was a case, as Kranti has mentioned in the previous session, that एक केस हुआ था नोएडा में, जहां पर चलानिंग के केस में एक ही पर्सन के ऑल ऑफ द ईयर चलान होते रहे थे, और it was like that. So are we facing, or there is any solution based, some more discussion that how we can make it more smoothly? Because somewhere when challan system, in case of helmet also, in case of seat belt also, we have listened कि चलान ट्रैफिक वॉयलेटर्स जो था वो कार ड्राइवर था और उसके पास हेलमेट का पहुंच रहा है. सो देयर आर समटाइम्स मेनी केसेस आर कमिंग इन मीडिया आल्सो. So is there anything which is going on जो इसको और strongly रखा जा सके? जी.
I would like to add my suggestion, ma'am. If possible, policeman जो भी whosoever is posted there, तो body worn कैप पहन के रखेगा तो उससे काफी हद तक हमें इन डिफिकल्टीज से हमें सहूलियत मिल सकती है. आमतौर पे कन्फ्रंटेशन होती है जी कि मैंने ये वायलेशन नहीं की है. अगर जो ट्रैफिक का ऑफिशियल है वो बॉडी पे कैमरा लगाया हुआ है तो उससे सब चीज क्लियर आ जाएगी. ड्यूरिंग माई टेन्योर ये भी चीजें सामने आती हैं कि जी मिसबिहेव किया है, क्या एविडेंस है. पर हम हर एक, अगर पॉसिबल है, हर एक आदमी को हम इस तरह के कैमरे प्रोवाइड करेंगे तो इससे काफी इसमें काफी मतलब हल हो सकता है. हम इसको कर रहे हैं.
Very nice. Please carry on with the presentation, please.
This is the last slide, madam, from my side.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Bharadwaj, for the presentation. We'll must have some questions regarding this, because today we are going to discuss about some issues related to police, where the police officers are also facing facing the challenges while on duty. We have heard that sometime some crashes had happened where the traffic police has also lost his life. The personal cop is there. So that is also one of the area which will need to be addressed, because they are also human beings and we have to talk about their safety as well. So we would like to listen more. हम लोग अपने और जो भी speakers साथ में जुड़े हैं, we'll try to get more information from them also कि किस तरीके से हम लोग इस पर काम कर सकते हैं. So we have with us, because we have started with traffic management और हम लोग काम भी कर रहे हैं इससे ऊपर. हमारे साथ नोएडा से भी DCP ट्रैफिक जुड़े हुए हैं. So if you can hear me, DCP ट्रैफिक नोएडा, और I think उनके बिहाफ पर इंस्पेक्टर आशुतोष हैं वहां पर. I think there is connection problem with DCP traffic Noida. I can see them here, but I think there is some problem. So before not delaying, we are talking about there are some issues we would like to take up with the traffic police regarding the management issues as well. We'll take it once we'll have the DCP traffic and other officers with us. But without delaying, we have very special two guests with us. Mr. Paul Clark, who is the former transport minister from UK, and Mr. David, a very near friend from President Global Ncap and Towards Zero Foundation. Welcome both of you, especially because we know there is a time gap and there must be very early morning and we have disturbed you at this time. So, Mr. Paul, Mr. David, if you can also hear me, as we were discussing, and Mr. Bharadwaj has also mentioned about some of the issues and the system we are going now. Gurugram is one of the important districts in Haryana where many corporate are also coming forward and working towards road safety. And the district itself is becoming an example where infrastructure interventions are happening. Now the enforcement is also taking a lot of precautions, as Mr. Bharadwaj has also mentioned. So first, my question to Mr. If Mr. Paul can also share that how does he see UK and Indian context, because Mr. Paul and Mr. David have visited India many times. So I think we can discuss about that. How do you see, what is, first of all, the major issue which we have discussed, that the issue of today's discussion, the mobility, etc. And how do you see in respect of your country and here and the vulnerability and the issues which are going on in case of road safety? So first of all, Mr. Paul, over to you.
Thank you very much, Roshni, and hopefully you can hear me okay? Yes?
Yeah, we can.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Namaste. Greetings from the United Kingdom at some 6:30 in the morning. So thank you for agreeing for us to be on slightly later this morning. In my remit when I was minister, and I was a member of Parliament for some 13 years in the UK, I had a number of different portfolios within transport, and I think the one that hit me hardest in terms of the most lasting in the effect on me was actually on the road safety briefing, because I had the privilege, and indeed it was humbling, to be at the very first global road safety ministers meeting, which took place in 2009 in Moscow, and indeed David, of course, was there as well. And there I met my counterparts from around the globe, and you just realized the waste of life that was going on that was avoidable. And all credit to our colleagues, for example, the police officer we just heard from, Gurugram, in terms of the enforcement and the work that they are doing. Because I think, look, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, and I was looking at the figures again yesterday. The similarities between the issues that you have in India are reflected in the UK as well. So, for example, the most vulnerable group of users per miles travelled in the UK are those that are on two wheels, motorcyclists and cyclists. Those are the most vulnerable groups. The age group is 17 to 24, most vulnerable group, and I know that is one of your most vulnerable groups. I know it goes up to 35 as well. But we face those problems wherever you are within the world. Numbers are different, of course, purely because, I mean, the UK has about 4% of the population that you have in India. So real numbers are going to be much higher. But still, the areas that are the most relevant and most vulnerable are two-wheelers, as I say, and that young age group. So we have to work again on that. Let me tell you, I probably have two particular messages I think are relevant for today. One is about its small steps. Small steps, bit by bit, perseverance for the case is absolutely critical. And if I tell you, it was 115 years ago, and before anyone asked, I wasn't around then, but the 17th of August, 1896, that was the first car-related fatality in the United Kingdom. 115 years we've had to get it right, and we still have something like 1,800 people dying on our roads still every year. So the coroner at the time, when he recorded accidental death when a pedestrian got mowed down by an out-of-control car, said, I hope that this would be the last. It's estimated that some 550,000 people in those last 115 years have died on UK roads. So we need to just understand it takes time, commitment and perseverance bit by bit, because it takes a long time to change the mindset of people. And it is that then leads me to the second part, main message, is that it's a family affair. And I'm not talking about mums and dads, brothers and sisters. It is the enforcement agencies. It is the business owners. It is the teachers in the schools. It is everyone, pedestrians, all road users, all those that are using transport corridors. We all have a responsibility to each other. I do as a visitor when I come to Delhi, to cross the road safely, not to jump out in front of vehicles. You know, all of us have that responsibility to go forward. And I think what I'd say, what are the solutions? Well, I've said very clearly, it's not a single, there's no golden bullet to this. There's no silver bullet to this, to be able to do this. The traffic police, of course, there's always things that we can take forward. And indeed, the presentation we've just had shows how technology indeed will be used further to help to control and to enforce the legislation. And it is important that we have good legislation that's clear, that the legislators in Parliament, at the state level, at the district transport officer level, all have their role to play as the agencies for good road safety. But the police can't be everywhere. They can't cater for what you did when you came out of your house, Rajni, or anyone else, and that you suddenly get a text message. Hopefully you haven't got your phone on when you're driving, but you know, we know you can't you can legislate, but you can't decide exactly what X or Y is going to do when they leave. So the police can't be everywhere. But what we can do is educate. And that, I think, is the most important part of fighting against and to get safer roads. Because we have to make sure that, you know, friends understand that alcohol and driving do not go together. Showing off in front of your girlfriend going at high speed is not a good idea. That texting while driving is not a good idea. Weaving in and out of traffic on a two-wheeler is not a good idea. Wearing no helmet is no good idea. And wearing a helmet that is substandard. And I know that's been a big issue. And I have to say all credit to those that have been involved in fighting and getting that message across. I'm delighted to see some of the success stories that are coming back from various states around India. Those are all important parts that have to be got across, and taking every opportunity at every level to send that message across. And you will know that I do believe you should start young, with the kids, with children in schools, at clubs and so on, getting that message across. And it is also, I'm conscious of time, that I noticed very clearly our friend from the police was saying about the cinemas and so on. Let me add to that. The cinemas not just running awareness films, but actually getting the makers of films, of television programs, to recognize the power of their celebrity, their individual, what they do in those films and so on, actually needs to reflect good road safety laws and not get away. The last thing I'll say this is, can I thank ASSOCHAM for organising this? I mean, and congratulations on what is now their 101st year, I see, and clearly an extensive range. Corporates have a fundamental role to play in helping with the road safety at so many different levels, fleet managers and so on, and I did work with fleet managers here in the UK. I do just wonder whether perhaps a great step forward, and I see that there are many national councils within ASSOCHAM for various, covering many sectors, whether there could be a road safety council board set up within ASSOCHAM that brings together interested parties and including NGOs, because all of us have that role to play. So hopefully that covers, I mean, and that's really what hit me when I was Road Safety Minister, the family affair, everyone coming together, and it makes a real difference. Deaths, serious injuries can fall, as well as all the engineering and the safer models of vehicles and so on. But we need that education side and the family to work together. So that covers some of my thoughts immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. I think you have really highlighted the major issues with the road user behavior. Also, somewhere the equipments like which are saving guards for us, like helmet, and vulnerability of the two-wheeler riders, especially like you said in UK, the two-wheeler includes the motorcycle and the cyclist as well. So that is also. So from just taking from your words, I'm going to talk Mr. David Ward, because we are talking about, hi, first of all, how are you, David?
Fine, thank you. Yeah. I'm celebrating my grandson's first birthday today, so
oh.
Congratulations. That's a happy day for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So taking from Mr. Paul's points that the safety of, we have heard a lot from your side regarding the safer cars, where India is leading, and we would like to hear more about that. But along with that, because safety of two-wheeler riders is always a concern in case of India, because we have more than 70% population of two-wheeler riders on roads. So what your say about this, about the safer cars, but with the safer motorcycles as well? Over to you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's great to be together with friends, Paul, Rajni, like this, and thanks also to ASSOCHAM, of course, for organizing this. It's always great. It's just a shame. I'm getting very tired of virtual events. Last year, actually, no, I did go to India last year. I almost every year I managed to go to Mumbai for a big event with Tata in January before the lockdown, but I'm hoping to be able to get to India this year. But anyway, I think in your introduction you put a very good perspective on this. Is what have we learned from the last decade, and what are the challenges going forward, exactly on the issues you've highlighted. And I'd like to start by just paying enormous tribute to the success and progress India has made around vehicle safety. And I mean vehicles, not just cars, vehicles full stop. And I can say, I think absolutely for sure, that India is the most improved country in the world in the last decade in this area. And we were very proud to be part of that through Global Ncap, supporting the Safer Cars for India program, which was our sort of prototype Ncap program, New Car Assessment Program for India. And that story is quite remarkable. If you go back to 2014, when we did the first results, then the situation was pretty poor. India had no vehicle safety crash test standards. The cars that were being sold, the most popular vehicles on the market, would fail the minimum UN crash test standards. When we released the first set of results, we had basically all the vehicles were 0 stars, apart from one, the Volkswagen, which they improved only because of the tests. They added some airbags. So we were really in a very, very bad situation in terms of vehicle safety. And then where we are now, it's just total transformation. We have, in relation to the star rating, you now have major manufacturers competing to get 5 stars. Most impressive to me is that the leadership has been with Indian car manufacturers. I'll be frank with you. When we started this program, we expected Toyota or VW to get the first 5-star car, but no, it was Tata. And of course, the contrast is quite dramatic, because the first set of tests we crash tested the Tata Nano, and it did very badly. And I can tell you a little anecdote, is that when we did those tests, we did them at the German crash laboratory in the ADAC near Munich. And we were doing these tests right before the end of the year. And the ADAC, looking at the Tata Nano, they said, we better make this the last car we test, because they expected it would do damage to the dummy they used, the instrumented dummy. And it did. The dummy had to go to hospital, sort of dummy hospital, after that, because the crash test dummy acted as an energy absorber and actually performed better than a human would have done. So it just shows how poor the Tata Nano was. Fortunately, it was a commercial failure and the car is no longer in production. But what a transformation. And then coming along in the slipstream was Mahindra with their X300 model, which is the highest rated vehicle that we've tested now in India. And even more impressive, that car has become the first 5-star car in Africa. The same car built in India is now exported to South Africa, and it's got a 5-star rating in our program in Africa. So from the point of view of industry effort and response and the transformation, it's absolutely remarkable. We still want to see a bit better. We're always having a little bit of an interesting dialogue with Maruti Suzuki, who have yet to get anywhere close to a 5-star car, and we still encourage them. But I think from the point of view of consumer information stimulating progress, the Safer Cars for India project's been a remarkable success. And we're very proud of our partnership with ORTE, who have helped us with the program. Rohit Baluja's excellent organization based in Delhi. Also, I'd like to pay tribute to the media support we've had. Our first results were launched by, in conjunction with the Car and Bike Show with Siddharth Pandakar, and gained huge news coverage, which is very, very important. And we continue to benefit from very, very positive news coverage about this work. Then alongside that, there's been a big step up from the Indian government. And really, you just have to pay a huge tribute again to Nitin Gadkari in particular, because I think partly in response to the results that we showed, the Indian government became determined to really push forward with regulation. So they adopted the most important crash test standards, front and side impact, and this is very important, pedestrian protection. So India is now really a world-class in terms of basic crash protection. It's significant that test for pedestrians is not included in the US. You're ahead of the US in that sense. Also, a speed limiter was introduced. Just recently, there's been a new airbag standard for a passenger side airbag. So continued progress. And very important for motorcycles is you have included anti-lock brakes as a standard on motorcycles. Again, you're ahead of the US on that. So on a regulatory scoreboard, this is why I say India improved on vehicle standards over the last decade. It's really a tremendous record. And on the consumer side, we've seen through our Safer Cars program, manufacturers responding. So this is an extraordinary success story. And we've been just enormously proud to be part of it. As regards next steps, what we want to see now, there are still more technologies. The absolute priority is electronic stability control, the anti-skid system, which can probably eliminate maybe between 35–40% of run off the road skidding crashes. And the Indian government is committed to introducing it after 2022. And we would particularly encourage, this technology works in all four-wheel vehicle classes. So it works in trucks, buses, vans. It's not just passenger cars. So we really want to see ESC legislation as soon as possible. And it's included in our in the Safer Cars for India ratings. So you can't get 5 stars now without having ESC, which, for instance, the Mahindra does. So that's the next thing on technology. The other thing we'd really like to see is mandatory safety labeling for the Ncap program, because we have limited resources. We're very grateful to Bloomberg Philanthropies and the FI Foundation for funding the work we do. crash testing is expensive. You know, we buy the vehicles, we go through all the effort to crash test them and rate them. And so we have a limited ability to select in the market. We try and choose the most important vehicles we can. And manufacturers themselves, some of them, we're very pleased, volunteer to have their cars tested at their expense, but not everybody does. The way to transform this to get really big market coverage is to have a mandatory label. And if then every consumer would then know when they go to buy a car, whether it's online these days or in a showroom, they'd be able to say, well, what's the safety rating? And in fact, usually what the legislation in these examples, it doesn't insist that there has to be a crash test. But if a manufacturer hasn't had it crash tested, then there's just a big gap, a blank space. And that means a consumer can ask, well, why haven't you had this thing crash tested? And in the US, there is a mandatory label called the Maruti label, interestingly named after a US senator who got annoyed about misleading prices on cars back in the 50s, and he insisted on a label, and that now includes US Ncap data. Malaysia has just applied a label for ASEAN Ncap. So the next big thing for us is these, as I say, two ESC and labeling. And on motorbikes, which you've stressed are so important, we would like to see an extension of the ABS legislation to smaller classes of bikes. At the moment, it applies to bikes above 125cc. But of course, there are many motorcycles of smaller capacity. And you can have low-cost ABS just working on one on the front wheel for smaller bikes. So it's not very expensive, but it would definitely help. There are very impressive data for the effectiveness of ABS on bikes. And what we would like is a standard based on the speed of the machine. Because we're going to start seeing electric bikes, for instance. So if you specify 50cc, you're missing a new class of vehicles. So we would like to see ABS as standard on any two-wheel machine that can go above 50 kilometers an hour. And I think that would be a great thing for India to look at. Another thing, moving into the sort of behavior area, the EU has legislated, and it's coming into force from next June, a range of vehicle safety measures. One of them is alcohol interlocks. And these are devices that make it impossible to drive the vehicle or test the driver. And I think particularly in the commercial vehicle sector in India, in fleets, there is a very good case for looking at alcohol interlock technology to ensure that you control better drink driving. Another thing on motorcycle safety, ASEAN Ncap, our partner based in Malaysia but serving Southeast Asia, they've been a tremendous leader on motorcycle safety. Like India, across the ASEAN region, motorcycle injuries are a very significant problem. And ASEAN Ncap have done some great work on motorcycle safety, including the first ever requirement in an Ncap for blind spot detection for motorcycles. So they're basically improving the rear visibility through intelligent mirrors for car drivers to be able to have a better ability to see motorcyclists that might be hiding in those places behind a vehicle where they can't be seen. So there are many detailed things like this, which over the next decade, I think India could really look at. The other technology which is coming, and in a way, India's already pioneering this a bit with the speed limiters that they have on the highways, is intelligent speed assistance is coming in Europe, which is a device that will be able to, based on maps or reading road signs, be able to control the speed. That's a technology also that I think India should look at. Step up by road authorities to make sure that the road signs are visible and in good shape. So we're going to, one of the challenges now with technology is we're going to have vehicles that can read the roads, and interaction between the road architecture and the vehicle. And that's going to mean a greater responsibility on road authorities to maintain and run that properly. Final point is, and this follows on from the first two excellent presentations, is you cannot rely on vehicle technologies alone. This is a safe system approach. We need We need safer roads, safer road users, safer vehicles. And so better enforcement is still critical. All of the big progress that I've been talking about on occupant protection, airbags, if you're not wearing your seatbelt, it's all for nothing. An airbag and a crumple zone and all of these improvements are entirely designed around the idea that the occupants are wearing seatbelts, both front and rear. And so if they're not, they're just not using the safety systems of the vehicle properly. So it's never been more important to wear your seatbelt than now. And it would be very disappointing for us to have had so much progress on the vehicle front if we cannot get the message really reinforced that wearing seatbelts is vital, just as, and here, Rajan, pay huge tribute to your work about helmet wearing. Helmet wearing on motorcycles, quality helmets of a standard is absolutely vital. And then last but not least, speeding. We know that in almost any crash environment, excessive speed is a key factor. In any kind of incident, even if speeding isn't the primary cause, if you're going a bit slower, you have less energy to dissipate. So in any crash environment, having less speed is a good thing. So that's all my summary of what I wanted to say this morning. It's been a great privilege to speak to you all again, and I look forward to hearing the other presentations. So thanks, Rajni, especially to you for arranging this.
And thank you to joining, and hearing from you is always a pleasure. And as you have mentioned and highlighted the issues, yes, India is leading towards the safer cars, and somewhere we need to take care of the two-wheeler segment. And as you and Mr. Paul has mentioned about the somewhere the availability or the using of substandard helmet or fake helmet, which is a very close topic to me. And whenever we talk about it, so we usually talk about why such helmets are available in the market and people are wearing it and purchasing it. So again, because now we have, thanks again, David, because you have highlighted the major points and the challenges we had earlier regarding the safer vehicles, and now India is leading. So somewhere we hope that in the next decade, in the new decade, we'll be able to have more and more safer cars and the safer two-wheelers for the road users. And we can actually fulfill the demand of the safer vehicle pillar as well. So taking from your point that we have some challenges in the last years, a lot of challenges in case of context of India. We have now with us, because I can see we have the DCP traffic from Faridabad also has joined us. So if he can also be, because before going to the post-crash response to Dr. Tanu Jain, and we have Piyush, who is leading in this case. So before going to both of them, just want to talk to the enforcement agencies completely about that, the issues which has been raised by Mr. David and Mr. Paul Clark, that how we can actually control and encourage road user behavior, either in case of seat belt also, or either in case of wearing a good standardized helmet or any other factor. So if the DCP traffic Faridabad can hear me, or Noida, anybody can respond. What is your, आप लोगों के हिसाब से challenges थे और किस तरीके से आप इन चीजों को कंट्रोल करते हैं? इश्यूज पॉल क्लार्क ने उठाए और मिस्टर डेविड ने उठाए regarding the road user behavior, risk factors, seatbelt से related हो, तो आप में से अगर कोई इस पर अपने पॉइंट्स देना चाहे तो, DCP traffic Noida or DCP traffic Faridabad. I think there is again a problem. So, I think we should move ahead then for the major one of the pillar, because we will definitely would like to point out those issues which we have discussed. But let's direct go to Dr. Tanu. 10. And Piyush, am I audible to you as well? Piyush.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Rajni, please unmute yourself.
Hello. Is it audible?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I think there is some problem with the DCP to connect with both of them. So let's straight away go to Dr. Tanu ma'am.
So thanks.
we would really, yeah.
Yeah, Rajni, please go ahead. I think you were dying to ask me some questions.
No, I'm just highlighting the issue that we had the challenges in case of post-response. What were the learning basically out of that, and how we are proceeding ourselves in the new decade. So
Yes,
that is the major concern,
yes.
because post-crash responses somewhere very important. And Piyush is also with us, so we would like to listen from both of you regarding this.
Rajni, first, can I have the sharing rights, please, so that I can share some brief presentation? Just a few slides. I don't want to give a big presentation. So can you please? Yeah, thank you. So, right. Just a second. Give me a second.
Yeah.
IT team, please provide to share rights of 2 days. Jen.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Can you see the screen now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you very much for this invitation. And I heard excellent presentations in this session. And so we have been covering a lot of areas of road safety, and DCP Gurgaon shared a beautiful presentation wherein such amazing activities have been done. It was really enlightening. And similarly, Mr. David and Mr. Paul, they shared a lot of activities which are done in field of road safety in India. So in the government Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, we are implementing a program which is actually a program focusing on prevention and management of trauma, burn injuries, and all other emergencies as well. So this is the program. Now this is a brief landscape of the emergency burden in India. As we can see that almost 1.5 lakhs deaths are reported only due to road traffic accidents every year. And this number has actually not really substantially gone down for so many years now. But other than this number, if you can see, there are around 11 lakh deaths occurring due to various injuries. So road safety is definitely there, but there are very many other injuries like falls, assaults, drowning. So there are many injuries that are again causing a lot of deaths. The difference between the diseases or the deaths caused by non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular diseases and all, they are mostly in the age group of 65 plus or sometimes 70 plus. But these injuries that are happening, especially road traffic injuries, we all know it is happening to vulnerable road users and also to the younger age group, which are the productive members. So as we have been discussing the road safety management, safer roads and mobility, safer vehicles, safe road users, and lastly comes the post-crash response. So I think we are the beneficiaries of all the other 4 pillars. So if all the other 4 pillars are very strong, so we benefit from it, and our emergency departments, really do not have that kind of load that we are seeing now, which is happening due to various type of road traffic injuries. I think in India, it is a very, very complex pattern also, because India is not uniform all across. And not only that, the problem is also that geographically we are very, very different, and most of the challenges that have been thrown to us, we may do very well with we may build good safe roads, we may have safer vehicles, but what about the safer road users? So behavior is becoming a lot of issues with us, behavior and enforcement. So there we are suffering a lot. This is what I could gather. And what happens? I mean, we try to avoid the accidents that they should not happen. But when accidents happen, again in India, the problem is the post-crash response. And I think Rajni and a lot of other NGOs are working really closely with the stakeholders to take care of this aspect, as was also pointed out with Mr. D.K. Bharadwaj, who is DCP Traffic, that there should be a network between the law enforcement agencies and the hospitals, because when we look at the data from the hospitals, only 1 to 2% victims are being transported in the ambulance. Maximum victims are being transported by PCR vehicles. So the police training becomes a very key to it. And if there is a quick response and the victim is transported in a very safe manner to a hospital, that becomes a very important thing. But as we have been, attending various meetings in India, the challenge does not stop at bringing the patient to the victim to the hospital, because again the hospitals have to have a lot of systems in place. So if we talk about post-crash response, it is covering pre-hospital care systems, then national emergency telephone number. Now this area we have really done well. So there is a uniform telephone number available all across the country. And now 112 is coming up, but 104 and 108 are again very popular numbers, and most of the people are aware of this number and they do call. So then when you bring the patient to the hospital, within the hospital, there are several issues which we are tackling at the Ministry of Health. And then we go to rehabilitation and support to injured patients and bereaved by road traffic accident crashes. Then there are various efforts on establishing insurance schemes and assurance schemes throughout the country. Now our PM has taken big steps in ensuring that people are not left on the road and they are not taken to the hospital, and due to lack of money at that particular point, they are not made to suffer. And then crash investigations and legal response. So these are the post-crash response areas. Now, what are the various elements of the trauma care system? So this is bystander care to provide first aid, then pre-hospital to stabilize, hospital definitive care, early rehabilitation, recovery, and re-entry into the system. But at the same time, we should realize that road traffic crashes and injuries are preventable. So if we can prevent, then all these elements, we will really be able to handle them well. The sheer magnitude of the number of victims that we have in our country and sheer magnitude of victims that are brought to the hospital is becoming very, very difficult for us. So I think we really need to focus on very pertinent issues so that we manage and do not have that kind of crashes. So what are the objectives of this program? The program, envisages to establish a network of trauma care facilities. Then we also are looking into establishing referral and communication networks between various trauma care facilities, various agencies and stakeholders. Then data, of course, when we say 1.5 lakh deaths due to road traffic accidents, maybe there is some estimation of these deaths, but NCRB does an excellent job of collecting this data, and we really are very dependent on this data to guide us on our various policies. Then there is actually a need to have a national trauma system plan and policy. And as for all the pillars of road safety, there is a need for awareness through IC activities. These are the various approximately 201 hospitals we have identified in the last 10 years, wherein we have established the trauma care facilities with all elements of trauma care, including pre-hospital, hospital, rehabilitation, and other activities which are being done in these centers. And these centers are giving us a lot of data also. The data we are collecting on this website, and this website is again giving us a lot of activities which we are doing as such in our program. Now, I will just take you through some IEC materials that we have prepared. So when we started looking at the IEC related to road safety, there is a lot of IEC available, how you should drive, what is the way how you should wear your seatbelt or something. But when it comes to crash and what first aid should be done to a road traffic accident victim, it was really very, very poor. And then we had to actually look into it and do a lot of work related to Good Samaritan messages, because there was a lot of hesitation of people transporting the victims to the hospital. So Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, they issued guidelines on Good Samaritan, which was also followed by a gadget notification of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, wherein we also notified all the hospitals across the country that accident patients have to be treated and referred to a proper center. So these are the various activities that we are doing. These are the print material that we have developed and disseminated across the country, and this has been developed in various local languages as well. Then I would like to also share a video with you. There's a very beautiful video which I would like to share, which we have made. Just give me 1 second. Can you still see my screen? I'm sorry, this video conferences.
सड़क सुरक्षा बहुत जरूरी है। सड़क सुरक्षा नियमों का पालन नहीं करने का नतीजा एक्सीडेंट होता है। हमारे देश में प्रति घंटा 53 सड़क दुर्घटनाएं और 16 मौतें होती हैं। सड़क दुर्घटनाग्रस्त लोगों की देखभाल में देरी से चोट की गंभीरता बढ़ जाती है।
Okay, video is not visible.
Yeah, video is not.
Okay, just let me see. I think first I have to stop sharing and then share again, right?
Okay.
Great.
सड़क सुरक्षा बहुत जरूरी है। सड़क सुरक्षा नियमों का पालन नहीं करने का नतीजा।
Is it visible now?
Not, ma'am.
No. Can I give it to you? Can I mail it to you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, बरखा, एक वो वीडियो उसमें से मेल कर देना, ठीक है? हाँ, पेन ड्राइव ले लो पीछे से. I don't know why I can't show you the video. My screen. Just a second. Can you see?
सुरक्षा बहुत जरूरी है।
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
करने का नतीजा एक्सीडेंट होता है। हमारे देश में प्रति घंटा 53 सड़क दुर्घटनाएं और 16 मौतें होती हैं। सड़क दुर्घटनाग्रस्त लोगों की देखभाल में देरी से चोट की गंभीरता बढ़ जाती है। सही समय पर और सही ढंग से अगर दुर्घटनाग्रस्त की देखभाल की जाए तो उनका जीवन बचाया जा सकता है। आइए देखते हैं कि स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण मंत्रालय द्वारा प्राथमिक उपचार प्रशिक्षण में क्या बताया जा रहा है।
तो आज आप लोगों ने सीख लिया कैसे करते हैं। हथेली इस तरह से बाहर सीधी हो, छाती के बीच में आपको 1 मिनट में 120 बार रफ्तार से दबाव डालना है, ठीक है, इस तरह। सो इज इट क्लियर? आप लोगों को ये कोर्स अच्छा लगा कि नहीं? लेकिन मैं तब तक नहीं मानूंगा जब तक मुझे वो 4 मुख्य बातें फिर से आप नहीं बताओगे। तो पहला चीज कौन बता पाएगा? ये देखेंगे कि हमारे आसपास बहुत बढ़िया, अपने आप को सबसे पहले बचाना है, ये सबसे पहली चीज है। दूसरी चीज कौन बताएंगे?
फिर हम ये देखेंगे कि घायल व्यक्ति की सांसें चल रही हैं या नहीं।
यानी आपको देखना है कि घायल कैसा है, सांसें चल रही नहीं चल रही है। तीसरा कौन बताएगा?
मदद के लिए एम्बुलेंस और पुलिस को कॉल करेंगे।
सही बात, हमें मदद के लिए बुलानी चाहिए एम्बुलेंस, पुलिस या आसपास खड़े लोगों को। चौथी बात जी बताइए।
फिर हमें उस घायल व्यक्ति की मदद करनी चाहिए जैसे हमें फर्स्ट एड ट्रेनिंग में सिखाया जाता है। हमने जो पूरे कोर्स में सीखा है उन सभी बातों को सही तरीके से हम घायल की मदद करने में कैसे इस्तेमाल करें, यही हमें करना है। मैं कमिंग सर हम सबको पता चला कि ट्रेनिंग चल रही है, कुछ समय पहले भी हमने ट्रेनिंग किया था, उस ट्रेनिंग का हमें बहुत फायदा हुआ, तो हम आज से मिलने आगे सर इस ट्रेनिंग की वजह से हम लोगों ने कुछ दिन पहले बहुत सारे लोगों की जान बचाई। जान बचाकर सर बहुत अच्छा लगा। हम लोग खाले से बाहर आ रहे थे, इतना भयानक एक्सीडेंट था, देखा एक इधर पड़ा हुआ, एक इधर पूरा खून के साथ। इस ट्रेनिंग की वजह से हम लोग बचाने का मौका मिला सर।
आइए देखते हैं कि एक्सीडेंट कैसा था। बाइक सवार को पैर में खरोच, ऑटो चालक बेहोश, ऑटो सवार के हाथ से खून का रिसाव, पीछे बैठी हुई महिला की पैर की हड्डी टूटी और गर्दन में चोट।
1 मिनट, रोड कितना लग रहा है? डॉक्टर लग रहा है, पीछे न हो जा। भाई साहब, हम लोगों ने लोगों की जान बचाने के लिए ट्रेनिंग ली हुई है, तो आप चिंता मत कीजिए, हमें अपना काम करने दीजिए। ठीक है, आपने हेलमेट पहना था इसलिए आप बच गए। आप ठीक है? आप ठीक है? आपका नाम क्या है? आपका नाम क्या है? अरे ये तो बहुत सीरियस लग रहे हैं। मैडम, आप 102 नंबर पर कॉल करके जल्दी से एम्बुलेंस को बुलाइए।
हेलो, एम्बुलेंस। ऐसी स्थिति में सांस न चल रही हो तो CPR की आवश्यकता होती है। अगर किसी व्यक्ति के चोट से खून बह रहा है तो अपने हाथ को खून से बचाते हुए किसी साफ कपड़े से दबाव बनाए रखें, इससे खून का बहाव रोका जा सकता है।
अब घबराइए मत, थोड़ा सा खून निकला है, ऐसे दबा के रखने से खून बंद हो जाएगा। और कहीं तो आपको चोट नहीं लगा है शरीर में? चाहिए, कहीं भी चोट नहीं है, आप बैठ जाइए। भाई साहब, खून रोकने के लिए और किसी चीज की जरूरत तो नहीं है? नहीं, और किसी की जरूरत नहीं है, बस थोड़ी देर ऐसे दबा के रखने से खून बंद हो जाएगा।
अगर गर्दन को सहारा दिए बिना हिलाया गया तो इनकी जान भी जा सकती है। और अगर शरीर के किसी हिस्से की हड्डी टूटी हुई हो तो उसे किसी चपटी और सख्त वस्तु से बांधकर सहारा देना चाहिए।
सारी गलती मेरी है, मुझे हेलमेट पहन लेना चाहिए था।
इनको होश आ रहा है तो जल्दी से हॉस्पिटल शिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा। हमें इनको अब एम्बुलेंस शिफ्ट करना है। ये स्पाइन बोर्ड आ गया, अभी सब पोजीशन लीजिए अपना। 1 2 and 3 back, 1 2 and 3 legs, cervical collar, मरे ना मेरा भाई, और तेरे जो बोल रहे हैं ना, तेरे करके दिया।
सर, जिंदगी में मुझे पहली बार एहसास हुआ कि मैंने भी कुछ सीखा है। इस कोर्स की वजह से मैं लोगों की जानें भी बचा सकती हूँ।
प्राथमिक उपचार जीवन बचाता है। यह हर किसी के लिए हर समय उपयोगी है। आपके द्वारा समय पर दी गई मदद दुर्घटनाग्रस्त व्यक्ति का जीवन बचा सकती है। सड़क परिवहन और राजमार्ग मंत्रालय की अधिसूचना के तहत अब पुलिस और अस्पताल गुड समैरिटन को अपना नाम और पता बताने के लिए बाध्य नहीं कर सकते। जिंदगी बचाइए और असली हीरो बनिए। स्वास्थ्य सेवा महानिदेशालय, स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार द्वारा जनहित में जारी। इस वीडियो में घायल व्यक्ति को पुनः होश में लाने तथा उसे स्थिर करने के लिए प्रयोग की जाने वाली कुछ तकनीकों को केवल प्रदर्शित किया गया है। ये केवल संदर्भ के लिए है। यदि आप किसी की मदद करना चाहते हैं तो आपको परामर्श दिया जाता है कि ऐसी स्थिति से पहले प्रशिक्षण अवश्य प्राप्त कर लें।
So thank you very much for your patience in watching the video, and I think I can stop sharing the screen. I don't need to share anything. So how do I stop sharing the screen? Okay,
it's fine.
thank you. Yeah. So so this is a kind of thing, and I think with Rajni has actually recognized one of the actors here who's helping her take the training. So the shooting was done by real doctors from AIMS, Sabdajang, RML, and there are our pre-hospital trauma technicians who have done the shooting. I was really impressed when I was told by Mr. Bharadwaj that in Faridabad they are actually doing some activity where the people who are getting a challan are made to watch a video of 1.5 hours. I think they are more sensitive and receptive at that time, so they can get that, you know, kind of information, and they will imbibe it, I'm sure. And we would be happy to share these courses and all these videos. And I think I have this was a longer documentary meant for actually college and school and universities, so that they can be, you know, motivated to undergo this kind of trainings. So I do believe, and now in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, we are trying to make on the lines of NCC a national voluntary health workforce, and which will be trained on the first aid. So we really hope to have volunteers in the community who are trained not only on first aid but even on, you know, some aspects of road safety and vehicles, so that when they go to rescue they are aware of various aspects. So this is one of the very ambitious projects that we have recently started, any help from any of the stakeholders will be most welcome. And another thing we are doing with the schools, and I would like to collaborate even with Gurgaon DCP, because we are going to do a project called as Pratap is an acronym, where we are trying to see what are the high risk behaviors in school children. Why do they do what they do? And we have just been working with ICMR, WHO, and we are making a tool. So this is going to be a tool which we are going to right now do a pilot in 100 schools in Delhi and NCR. And we have CBSE and HRD ministry on board as well. So we have developed a tool to kind of assess the knowledge, attitude, practices, and behaviors of these children. Why they are doing high risk behaviors. And once we have all those information with us available, we are going to not only disseminate the information to stakeholders, but we are going to actually take these school children to the hospitals to show them what accidents have done, how accidents are actually harming, so that visual impact is there and the students can, otherwise we keep on thinking, okay, this thing will not happen to me, this happens to someone else. These are just statistics, these are just numbers, and this is not going to affect my life. But when you actually go and have that kind of a visual impact, that this is how you can become disabled, or you can die, or you can have this much of pain and trouble if you're not driving well, then I think the students will be more this thing. So this is actually going to be, we're going to carry on series of such surveys, and this is the activity that we are envisaging. There is a lot more I can share, but I'm sure there are so many other speakers. And so thank you very much for giving us this platform. Thank you, Rajni. And thanks for all of your passion in this field. The passion is very important for all of us here. Thank you. Thank you.
Well said, madam. This passion is only driving us all. So we have, and it's a really nice presentation always. We have with us now Shri Venkatesh Dwivedi ji also from SL Group. Welcome, Mr. Dwivedi, for joining. And we have with us DCP Traffic Faridabad and DCP Traffic Noida also with us, who have joined with us and have short time to talk about some of the points. Taking from the points, like Dr. Tanu ma'am has said, that there are trainings are going on and things are happening in case of post-crash response as well. So anything from DCP Traffic Noida, Shri Ganesh Shah ji, अगर वो कुछ इस बारे में अपनी तरफ से बताना चाहें, क्योंकि अभी नोएडा ने भी इस नोएडा पुलिस की तरफ से भी रिगार्डिंग पोस्ट क्रैश रिस्पॉन्स पर ट्रेनिंग्स वगैरह दिए गए, ट्रैफिक पुलिस को भी इन्वॉल्व किया इस ट्रेनिंग में. सो अगर इस बारे में वो भी अपनी तरफ से कुछ शेयर करना चाहें तो मिस्टर शाह.
रजनी जी, सर तो मीटिंग में है. मैं अफरोज सिंह, ट्रैफिक इंस्पेक्टर नोएडा.
ओके, जी नमस्कार.
नमस्कार जी, नमस्कार. देखिए, आप लोगों के सहयोग से और काफ़ी चीज़ें आपने हमें यहाँ पे हमारे जवानों को भी ब्रीफ किया है, और उससे हम लोग उसको अमली जामा अब देना शुरू कर चुके हैं. अब नोएडा में भी हम डबल हेलमेट की क्वालिटी प्लस जो कनेक्शन पॉइंट है या ब्लैक स्पॉट्स हैं, उस पर हम लोग अब काफ़ी फोकस कर रहे हैं कि जिससे लोगों को कराया जा सके. साथ साथ बिहेवियर के लिए हम लोग यहाँ के तमाम एनजीओ के साथ मिल करके लोगों को समझाने की कोशिश करते हैं कि जान आपका है, आप कीमती हो, ना कि गाड़ी कीमती है, ना कि आपकी रफ ड्राइविंग कीमती है. तो मोटिव वही है कि हम पब्लिक को सेव करें और लोगों को जागरूक कर सकें, और इस पर हम लोग लगे हुए हैं. हमारे डीसीपी सर इस पर काफ़ी इंटरेस्टेड भी होते हैं और स्वयं मौजूद रह के इसको कराते भी हैं.
बिल्कुल. थैंक यू सो मच आशुतोष जी. आप लोगों के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, काफी अच्छे से पता है. नोएडा पुलिस भी इस विषय को लेकर काफी आगे बढ़ रही है, और साथ के साथ हमारे साथ अभी श्री सुरेश कुमार जी भी जुड़े हुए हैं, डीसीपी फरीदाबाद. तो अगर वो भी अपना कुछ पॉइंट यहाँ रखना चाहें कि किस तरीके से ट्रैफिक पुलिस के लिए भी ये ट्रेनिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. और जैसे अभी आशुतोष जी ने कहा कि फेक हेलमेट और स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड हेलमेट की चेकिंग हो गई, या सीट बेल्ट को लेकर हो गया, इवन एक बहुत बड़ी मुहिम चलाई हुई है कि उल्टा ना चलें. तो इस तरीके के भी इश्यूज पर काम हो रहा है, तो अगर आप भी कुछ इस पर अपना पॉइंट रखें तो बहुत बहुत बढ़िया रहेगा सर। सुरेश कुमार जी, टीसीपी फरीदाबाद, अगर सुन रहे हो तो। दैट इज फाइन। हम लोगों के साथ बिकॉज हम लोग पोस्ट क्रैश रिस्पॉन्स पर बात कर रहे हैं और हम लोग वेंकटेश जी से भी बात करना चाहते हैं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को लेकर, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं बात करना, आई जस्ट वांट टू स्ट्रेट अवे गो टू पीयूष इफ ही इज लिसनिंग अस।
I think Piyush is not there. We should invite to Mr. Venkatesh ji to
Okay, Piyush is not there now. Okay, so because in case of, I just want to share one information that there is one report has come out, traffic crash injuries and disability, the burden on Indian society. It is an eye-opener somewhere report which we all have to take care, and how the post-crash, that fatalities and the road crashes are impacting our life. That is something very important, and I was thinking to discuss about that with Piyush. But now the important area which has been highlighted by many of our panelists, Mr. Paul has pointed out, Mr. David has pointed about the safe infrastructure. So as Mr. Venkatesh is with us, Mr. Venkatesh, what is your view and how you take the visibilities and etc., all these things in case of road safety? Because as if we talk about safe system approach, we have to have safe infrastructure as well. What do you think and what do you say about this? Sandeep ji, do we have Venkatesh ji with us?
Just a minute.
Yeah. So meanwhile,
I think due to technical things, shortly within 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. He is joining within 2 to 3 minutes. Fine. Yeah. So meanwhile, can we talk to Mr. Paul and Mr. David again? They have also listened and they have also seen the different presentation. I think they have gone through the presentation from Dr. Tanu also. And I think we have Mr. Ashutosh also from the Noida Traffic Police, who have highlighted that how the enforcement is working here. So from your side, any suggestions or anything, the way we are going ahead in case of road safety, and we are adopting some practices from the different world. So how we can make them more effectively in that case, and especially in case of enforcement and post-crash response.
Perhaps if I just comment first, can I first of all say, I mean, I think clearly it is impressive in terms of the work that's been done on post-crash care. And there was one telling thing that our colleague actually said. There's always this view that it won't happen to me. And that is particularly prevalent in, that 17 to 24-year age group, and particularly with males. We walk on water at that age. Nothing can touch us. And of course, we all know the reality of what happens. So that is why I so much impressed about the education side of this. I've said, it can't be down to just enforcement. It is important that sends the message that if you get caught drunk driving, if you get caught drug driving, one of the things that I was working on when I left office was actually having a review on the level of drink driving, but also a new law on drug-related driving, which has now come into force, because that legislation is important, and it's important that it's enforced and that the penalties are enough and severe enough to deter others, because that's how it has to work. But I think it was interesting what David was saying about some of the technology that is there and the alcohol interlock technology, which I do think is important for fleet management and businesses in their vehicles. And so it comes back really to the collaboration that I was saying at the end, that could draw together, you know, organizations like ASSOCHAM together with NGOs and others to reinforce that message of road safety that can be fed through so many different sectors. I won't say anything about visibility at this moment, because I know we're going to have a presentation or clearly about infrastructure, but visibility of road signs and so on, which I think David mentioned, absolutely critical. There's no point in having road signs if people can't see them, because some of them are about warnings, they're about information giving and so on. And if they're not, can't be seen, there's no point in having them. So that's another matter. But those are just a few things that I just picked up in terms of presentation that was given, particularly on the post-crash. And I think the video, whilst I couldn't understand obviously all of it, I think is a great initiative. And of course, the steps that were taken on Good Samaritan provision, again, an important step.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for your points. So I think we'll have Mr. Venkatesh very soon with us. Yeah, Sandeep ji.
Yeah, now it's just like within 1 minute he's joining. Yeah,
Okay,
Mr.
fine.
Venkatesh, yeah.
Yeah, fine. So Tanuji, can we discuss with you, because I want to take the opportunity and I don't want to lose that. 1 minute is also important right now. If we can discuss with you that you were talking about Dr. Tanu.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there are many NGOs, madam, who are working on, you are also aware of that many NGOs are coming forward, and even the corporate are also supporting in case of first aid respondent training, etc. So any a special module for the NGOs or anybody who can take up for such training or something from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare?
So right. So first aid training is actually quite scientific. So we have developed a module, and this module has been developed in collaboration with AIMS and WHO. Okay. It's a very wonderful module. I think that is the same module that Dr. Piyush is using for all your trainings. And this is a one-day training, and I think, but you will need the experts in the field. Yeah. So we can, in a long run, have a group of trainers. So what we are looking at is the first day, so the 1 day training that we give for a batch of 30, participants, we try to identify 1 or 2 of them who are really active and who really understand well. And then we take them up and give them a 2 to 3 days training. Right? So for the theory portion, you will definitely need either a nursing professional or a doctor to give you that theoretical part, because the concepts have to be clarified and sometimes questions are there which a medical person or a paramedic who has been properly trained can answer. But theory is very brief, actually, it's just 1 to 2 hours. And then for the hands-on sessions, so anybody who is trained well can become a trainer. And we have a, paramedic force actually that can be utilized for this purpose. So the NGOs can definitely join us.
Yeah, I just want to draw your attention towards Mr. Ashutosh, who is an inspector in Noida Traffic Police, but he has been a road crash victim.
Okay.
And he has faced a very drastic road crash. So Ashutosh ji, क्या आप please share करेंगे किस तरीके से road users ने आपका help किया, and how was that entire scene means something?
जी बिल्कुल, मैं इसका भुक्तभोगी हूँ और मेरे साथ जो ड्राइवर था वो तो ऑन द स्पॉट ही डेड हो गया था। उसमें एक लेडी गांव की आई रोड पर एकाएक, और गाड़ी मेरी स्लो होने के बाद फिर ड्राइवर्स के गलती से गाड़ी और रोड इंजीनियरिंग भी उसमें काफी हद तक जिम्मेदार रहा। क्योंकि डामर और मिट्टी के बीच में काफी गड्ढा था।
ओके।
मेरी गाड़ी डिसबैलेंस हुई और वो आगे 200 मीटर जा करके पलट गई। इसमें ड्राइवर नहीं है, लेकिन जो लोकल्स थे वहाँ के, उनका काफी अच्छा सपोर्ट मिला मुझे। एडवांस मिनिमम 10 मिनट्स के अंदर मैं ट्रैफिक साफ सेकेंड पे था हमारी टीम के पहुंचने से पहले तक। तो लोगों का सपोर्ट तो ठीक है। जैसे कल भी मैंने दो एक्सीडेंट हुए थे यहाँ महामाया पे।
अच्छा, जी जी जी।
बाइक वाला अनकॉन्शियस हो गया था, तो हमारे डीसीपी सर भी थे। वो फिर एक सामान्य पर्सन जो आया, कहा मेरी गाड़ी है आप इसमें ले चलिए, और वो हमें हॉस्पिटल तक प्रोवाइड किया अपनी गाड़ी। हम लोगों ने स्टेट किया कि इस तरह से अगर लोग आगे आए तो हम बहुत चीज़ों को बचा सकते हैं। जो हमारा गोल्डन टाइम है वो कर सकते हैं हम लोग।
जी जी जी, इस तरीके के गुड समारिटन्स की हमें जरूरत है कहीं ना कहीं, और ट्रेनिंग की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है। दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कुछ टाइम पहले देयर वाज अ कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, आई रिमेम्बर. So there we have mentioned that we can involve the NSS and NCC students because they are already into this social work, and if we can go for such a training for them, means they are in numbers and they are in each school, they are in every college almost, NSS, NCC cadets. So I think we can reach to more and more numbers in that response. We have also observed that in many foreign countries, kids are aware of CPR, but unfortunately, we are lacking behind in that case. So the video which we have just seen, something it is required to be telecasted on television after every news, so that people must be aware of that what is happening and what is lacking behind.
Rajni, we can share the video with you, and you have a big group of NGOs, so please popularize it as much as possible. But at the same time, once we are thinking of giving such kind of training, we should have a pool of trainers ready with us. So if you are having a lot of demand and you can't meet that demand, then people lose interest and people lose faith in that. So let's first, we are just trying to generate the pool of trainers. That is very, very important for us. So as you said that NCC and other, all voluntary organizations which are already working, and I don't know whether you have taken the training or not. I would request actually all the NGOs and the people who are working in the NGOs to take the training first, because, this is how the change starts. So you take the training first. I mean, you have coordinated maybe hundreds of trainings now, but if you don't take it yourself, and we would like to actually see you in the role of a trainer as well. So not only you, all the other NGOs. So first, let's have a pool of good trainers, because if you do not have good trainers, you don't give any information, and safe transport is definitely very, very important. At the same time, there are two theories around it. So stay and play is something we don't promote. So we have to transfer the patient as soon as possible. So there is no chance of staying and playing with it. So the thing is, most of the people try to become doctors. So we teach minimum, we teach what is vital, and we try to, and this is not something which is only helpful in a case of a road traffic crash. It is helpful in day-to-day emergencies as well. So I'm sure we are trying to catch those low-hanging fruits, and maybe from the NGOs itself we can get a lot of help. And if I am permitted to leave now, I have another meeting to attend. So thank you all for giving this opportunity, and looking forward to a lot of collaborative activities.
Definitely.
With the police and with home and all other departments. Thank you so much. Thank you and bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. We'll remain connected, and hope in 2021 itself we'll have more work together. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, Sandeep ji, do we have a?
So now we have Sri Venkatesh Dwivedi ji, Director Projects Project at BD Energy Efficiency Services Limited. Yeah, Dr. Venkatesh ji, are you there? Mr. Venkatesh ji, are you there?
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, he's there.
Venkatesh, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I am not able to start my video because of some issue.
So you can carry on Only the voice.
I was able to listen to some of the observations. I got disconnected with some issue. It's a very interesting topic and something which affects all of us as first-hand users, and of course there are many agencies which are involved in making sure that road transportation or travel of passengers remains a safe option. And as traffic and vehicle speeds increase, there is a role that is played by the lighting on the road also. So I would be speaking. In fact, my focus of presentation would be on the, and I'm not making any formal presentation, but there are just 5-6 very important points which I would like to highlight. And these points pertain to how lighting and or you can say less lighting or more lighting can contribute to road safety or the absence of that. So one is that we have this understanding that the lighting which is required is more on main roads or roads with higher traffic speed. But I think the requirement of light has to do more with human response time. The human response time on a road changes with the level of lighting and with the video on. ऐसे video on कैसे होगा? Basically, what I was trying to say is that the human response time changes with the lighting which is available, and in case light level is not adequate or the object is not seen, and this has happened to all of us, that while we are traveling we somehow miss seeing an object on the road, a speed breaker, or in some cases a pedestrian or any other hurdle, because which accidents happen. So there are two different philosophies that the lighting industry has, and I will quickly cover that so that the matter is understood by the participants. One is that we need more lighting between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. or I mean from sunset time to 11 p.m. Which is the period when the traffic is more on the roads. We also understand that lighting is mostly on cities, on the roads of the cities. Lighting is not available on highways. If all of us have observed, 6 p.m. to 10 to 11 p.m. is the period when traffic speed is slowest, number of vehicles is highest, and almost all vehicles are running with headlights on. So there is one set of lighting technologies who say that actually this is not the time when you need very high lighting. When you need a lot of light on the road, because the vehicular speed is less and it's almost bumper to bumper traffic during this period. The actual period when lighting has to be good is 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Because this is the time when the traffic on the road is very light and all vehicles are traveling very fast. And in fact, traffic signals are not working in some cases. There is no hindrance to the vehicle from moving fast. And this is the time when lighting levels required are high. So this is one aspect. There is a set of people who say that we can have more lighting during 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and then it should be less after that so that we save energy. What is required to be understood by everyone is that, one of the most important things the road is supposed to do, or the facilities on the roads are supposed to provide, is safety to the road passengers or people who are driving on that road. So just saving energy would not serve the purpose. So I am representing energy efficiency services limited there, and we understand this more than others, that if if only the focus is on saving energy, then maybe we don't need lighting at all. So there has to be enough light. There has to be enough light, optimum level of light, so that the passengers or the pedestrians as well as drivers of vehicles are able to see the road and the obstructions on it. And in fact, between 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., there can be less light, but there has to be enough for people to see. And after 11, actually, the light level is supposed to be very good. There is a set of people who say that we should dim the lights after 11 p.m. up to 5 p.m. 5 a.m. This technology is not widely used in India, but it is something which is being promoted. And ESL is one of the agencies which look at this technology option. But when we speak to decision makers of states, police personnel, regulatory authorities, they are not very comfortable with the idea of dimming lights to save energy. And of course, there are other energy saving opportunities where energy can be saved. And this need not be the only one where, because here we are also looking at the safety aspect of the road users. So this is one aspect I wanted to share with you. Second aspect is the color of the lighting. Now, surprisingly, this may not have been noticed by the common people, but people in lighting industry know that there is a particular color of light which gives better visibility compared to others. So there is a parameter called color rendering index, and so color rendering, to just help everyone understand the concept, the color rendering index of sun, our sun, is 100. That means the solar light, the sunlight that is falling on Earth, is color rendering index of 100. That means it is completely true light, which is clearly reflecting what is the color of the object on which the light is falling. But we have seen from 1980s till till 5 years, 6 years back, all government agencies and road users, they would have noticed that there is sodium vapor light is the most popular light which is being used on roads. These lights are orange in color, and they are also having low color rendering index, which means that if there is a green object, it may look black. A blue object may look green. It does not give very accurate rendering of the color or shape or size of the object. What ESL has done in last 7-8 years, along with the help of lighting industry, we have started adopting LED based lighting. So LED based lighting has better color rendering index of 70 or more, which is closer to that of sunlight. And these lights are, there is a particular color range of color temperature which is used in road lighting, which helps emulate almost sunlight during night time. This helps pedestrians, vehicle users to actually see what is the object right ahead of them, how far is it, what is the shape, size, and help the driver very quickly make a decision whether this is a pothole, whether it is a speed breaker, or is it some object, a piece of stone which is lying on the road. So a color entering index helps. So
Yeah. Mr. Venkatesh.
from front.
Yeah.
Coming from front with a headlight which is very high, then this glare affects our ability to drive or see things on road. So the lighting which is there on the road, it has to be properly installed. It has to have a proper angle so that the glare is not there on the passengers and drivers, which will, if there is more glare, it can lead to fatigue, and also it can cause confusion. It can cause accidents. So that is another factor that the agency which maintain that road, or the agencies which maintain the lighting on that road, have to be careful about that. The glare should be not too high. And then lighting levels as per road category is also important. We have city roads, we have highways, we have arterial roads, then we have city roads, we have service lanes, then we have back lanes, and colony roads.
Yes.
So there are certain specified lighting levels for each category. These should be adhered to, so that enough lighting is there. For example, service roads and colony roads should have at least 4 lux. Lux is a unit, lumens per square meter. That is, enough light has to fall on the road for making the road safe for use. My last point on this is that we have a lot of new construction going on, and I think highway agencies, agencies associated with this kind of development work, they are very much aware of how lighting levels have to be maintained, especially on highways, bridges, and crossings. And this is where I think the awareness of common citizens is also important. If they observe certain areas in their city or on highways, of course, most of the highways are unlit because of various reasons, and the vehicle users have to use their own car headlights to find their way. But especially the roads or highways, bridges, and crossings near cities should be properly lit, and there is a certain lighting level which is required. So we should have awareness amongst road users that these places should be well lit. If they observe any particular area where high-speed traffic is there but lighting is not there, especially near cities, they should be highlighted. They should be highlighted to the agencies to make sure that that area remains safe, and that remains safe once adequate lighting is there. So these are just some of the points I wanted to share with you. Back to the convener.
No, these are actually the major points we were discussing. Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh, for putting these points. We were talking about the safe system approach, and we were talking about how safe infrastructure is very much important pillar for road safety. And brightness means the visibility on road is somewhere very important. Recently, we have conducted one research on the 180-degree visibility. That was the topic of our research as well, where we have also tried to understand that how much visibility is on road and how it is affecting the drivers and how it is making them impact, like taking some action or reaction times also. You must have seen that there are some times when the trees are not fully trimmed, so the lights are not properly on roads as well. So safety of pedestrians, and sometimes people avoid to walk on footpath because the light is not proper over there, and the pedestrian come on roads. So something which we are actually putting them on a high risk by not doing the right trimming or by not putting the right lights on the roads as well. So this is one of the concern, and somewhere the bright roads or the lights on the roads make a sense of security and safety. So that is also one of the important area we should take care. And the third important point is it is somewhere very important for the policing as well, because if the brightness is there, so the chances of crimes are also very less at the night. Absolutely. So these are the actually important points in case of infrastructure. And thank you so much. I think this is the first time people, the participants and everyone has gone through, especially, and you have pointed out very clearly the role of the visibility, the brightness and the light on the road. So thank you so much, Mr. Venkatesh, for putting your points. And as time is already over with us, so we have with us Mr. Paul, Mr. Ashutosh, if Mr. David is listening to us, anything from a quick wording from your side, just a line, that's it. From Mr. Venkatesh also, something which is very encouraging for all of us to keep our passion on road safety. Mr. Paul, over to you first.
Thank you. And I noticed that you said a sentence. That's always difficult for a politician. Let me say, absolutely, lighting, visibility, all those things are important. Of course, I'm also conscious that you will have those from the environmental point of view, then saying about light pollution and so on. And there's a big balancing act here. And I know indeed the technology is such that it can mean that you can have better lighting, but less environmental pollution and so on. Absolutely critical. But let me just to say again, what we can do from here, I'd like everyone to think about how they can draw together what I call the road safety family. What work can you do today and tomorrow and in the weeks to come to draw together so many people that have got an interest? We all have an interest in making sure that our roads are safe, whoever we are. How can you do that better in your walk of life, your responsibility, but not do it alone? How can you build that road safety family? And I'll play my role as well. Again, thank you to ASSOCHAM for organising this, and indeed to you, Roshni, for clearly your sharing and monitoring of all of us participants today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul. Over to you, David.
Yeah, just a couple of points. I've been following very interesting discussion and the whole interaction between enforcement and sort of road user behavior and awareness. Something that I think is very, very important is that there's quite a lot of evidence that police enforcement campaigns work most effectively when they're strongly supported by public awareness campaigns, and vice versa. If you do a public awareness campaign without strong enforcement, it's less effective. So we need very close coordination. Actually, it follows on in a way from the point that Paul was just making, is that effective road safety, and that's, I suppose, embedded in this idea of the safe system approach, it's all about collaboration, cross-sectoral collaboration. And so that is tremendously important. It requires a level of coordination, which is a challenge in any country. I'm sure that Paul could tell you stories about the difficulties of coordinating the Department of Transport with the Home Office on road policing and then at local government level as well. So if this is not unique to any, this challenge is not unique, but it's something we really need to focus on. And one of the benefits of talking about the safe system approach is it's really challenging a new approach to the governance of road safety, which in tremendous emphasis on collaboration and a lot of good governance principles of transparency between agencies, which I think is very, very important. Final point is just to say, I think India's leadership role in this globally is very, very important. You are making great progress. Of course, regrettably, just in terms of absolute numbers, you're kind of top of the road casualty deaths, but of course you're a very large population. But within the next few years, there's going to be some big leadership opportunities. Next year, the UN General Assembly will have a special high-level meeting on road safety at the time of the General Assembly opening. So it would be very good if Prime Minister Modi committed to speaking at that session. He would normally be at the General Assembly for the opening. And it's going to be the highest level event on road safety we've ever had. Paul mentioned the Moscow meeting. Well, this is really going to be the next level up of a heads of government level meeting. And the year after that, India has the presidency of the G20 group of countries.
Yeah.
And the G20 group of countries are hugely important in terms of leadership and account for a large number, for instance, of the 85% of all the vehicles produced in the world are G20 countries,
Yeah.
and a high level of number of road crashes. So, sorry, I've completely abused the one sentence, but these are future priorities where I think Indian leadership is going to be very important. But thanks for organizing this. It's been very, very good and interesting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think the last point you have mentioned about the United Nations Global Road Safety meeting the next year, and Mr. Modi's leadership over there. I think ASSOCHAM is one of the very great platform. I think we can request Mr. Sandeep also and the ASSOCHAM family that if it's possible, so please try to push this. We will love to see Mr. Modi leading the road safety in the next year. Over to you, Mr. Venkatesh. Any suggestion from your side or some commitments? Mr. Venkatesh. Ashutosh ji, you would like to say something? Okay, fine. So, Mr. Sandeep, yeah. Yeah.
Technical person or practical person. Technical means जो engineering के part है और practical person वो जो daily उसका implement करते हैं.
I was just
I think Mr. Venkatesh has unmuted now. Thank you, Ashutosh ji. Voice was interrupting, so we missed few of the things, but we got the idea from your side. Thank you so much. So, Sandeep ji, over to you. And finally, from my side, thank you so much to all the panelists who have joined us and have shared their views about this and the way we are forwarding ourselves in case of new decade. I hope all of us, all stakeholders, including ASSOCHAM or the NGOs or the international experts from different countries will work together and positively will achieve the target of 2030. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to ASSOCHAM. Sandeep ji.
Thanks, Sandeep ji, for session, and especially thanks for Mr. Devani to join very early morning. I think that time around 6 or 7 o'clock. So we can understand just like it's an odd time to you. But again, thanks for wonderful insights on the road safety practices in country and also advices to us how we just like can improve our just practices. And we would like to thank to Mr. Venkatesh who just like highlighted on just like a report related to the visibility and the accidents like traffic in some peak time. And I think that's very need to one study. We can just like show the data with just like on the timing peak time during the duration of the just like road accident or what just like the duration and the visibility or 11 to 6 to 11 p.m. or 11 to just p.m. to 5 a.m. So just like more data maybe come out and just like we can aware the people just like focus on the importance of the visibility and the lighting in terms of the road safety and the road accidents. And also thanks to Mr. Ashutosh ji just who joined on behalf of the DCP traffic data. We can understand the busy schedule of always the enforcement agencies. So thanks to again Ashutosh ji to join us, and thanks to all stakeholders who just like given to us a valuable time from all corporates. Just Map My India, some is also there. and also powertrain and ESL also especially, and definitely we will do some fruitful initiatives in the road safety for this year and some next coming years, and just like to achieve the 2030 agenda for under the SDGs. Thanks to all. Thank you.
Namaskar. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone.